Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, family? Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. It is Monday night. It is August 17th. I know you're going to love that one. 2026, which means it's a conversation with just Alpha. Welcome, everybody, to the show. If you're a new person, I think you're going to enjoy what we covered tonight. If you're a returning person, then you're proving my point for the new people because you came back for some mo. Happy to see Alan right out of the gate, 5x5. You guys know this. It's like we're a fluid running machine now. Larry 5673 coming in with the 5x5. Appreciate all you guys. Long show tonight, not too long. I think we can actually nail this in under 3 hours. But if not, you know that we'll be rocking Just Alpha 2.0 tomorrow because it's got a good show lined up for you. Anyways, what are some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight? And then I want to mention something that I saw in the chat because I get it. We're going to be talking about Hayden. I'm going to try to say her last name as best as I can. Panettiere. You guys know the actress. She's done some old school movies. Her death, overdose, murder, or something else. We'll take a first look at that, and then obviously, you know, we gotta get more information to develop. But again, when you look at the historical pattern of things that happen, and again, we'll save it for when we get to her. It'll be interesting. Fauci panics. His lawyers put out a letter. If you guys aren't aware of it, I'll bring you up to speed on that. The power war. This is a couple of things that we're going to go into in this section, but this is also part one of a 3-part series, maybe a 4th part that I already wrote on Substack. It is free. As a matter of fact, I'll grab the link here in just a moment and drop it in the chats for you guys. But here's what I'll say. You got to read it. Okay. I broke it up into 3 parts, so it wouldn't be too long. It's still long, but it's not unbearable. But there's no way part 2 and the juicy part of 3 are going to make sense if you don't have the initial start, which is part 1. And the best way to kind of describe the way I'm going to do this series on the Power Wars, think Pulp Fiction, right? Think Pulp Fiction, and hopefully that'll provide some insights. Tucker exposed some mo. Candace versus Andrew. We're going to spend a good minute there just because the game is over. The jig is up, and we're going to cover that. We got some other cool things. We're going to be looking into some comms. We're going to be looking into, it just didn't fit into the title. It was equally as important as the heading. It just didn't fit into, but we're finally having people at the mainstream talk about a coup and a shadow government. And we're definitely going to address that. So maybe we finish it tonight. Maybe we finish it tomorrow. But in the meantime, I need you guys' help right now. And this is what you can do. After you hit that heart, after you smash that thumb, after you leave a comment in the comment section, I need you guys to share this out. Let's get these shows popping. You know what? YouTube has been great, but the last 2 shows have fizzled out within the numbers. And I don't quite understand why. So over there, all you guys that are in YouTube, you guys can do me a solid and let's try to jump that algorithm. Maybe missing a few days didn't do me justice. We'll make it happen. We'll figure it out. But the goal is, folks, the goal is tonight. Let's get to 1,000 live on each one of those, and anywhere else, it's a benefit. Now, I saw something in the chat. I'm not going to say who because it's not important. It wasn't anything bad. But somebody's having a hard day. And one, I love the way you guys all came to surround that person because that's the kind of love we want here at the AlphaWarrior Show with you guys in the audience. And I don't know, what's giving this person a hard day. And there's probably other people are having a hard day. I just want to remind you, even though hard days suck, folks, they also remind us that we're still alive that we still got fight in us, and tomorrow's a new day. And I get that tomorrow's a new day. But no matter how rough your day was today, own the ending. Own the ending. Don't let anything take the ending of this day from you. Whether it's an illness, whether it's bad news, whether it's family, a relationship, finances, own the way this day ends. Let it be yours. Don't let an outside event or situation control your emotions, control your feelings. Just you control your thoughts. When you close your eyes tonight, have a conversation with our Lord. Some people will call it prayer. Why can't it be both? But I just want to remind you guys, I'm real, you're real, and just you get it. You get what I'm saying. The Marine Corps side of me wants to give some other kind of advice, but no, I'm going to go with my gut on that. So as we get into the show tonight, or right before we get into the show tonight, let's give some love to the people that keep the show free. And I saw somebody saying, Alpha, the music's too long and all that. Listen, it's a one-man show. I go live, gives me a chance to check all the stats, all the shows, make sure everything's up to par, everything's going, gives you guys all a chance to hang out and let the room populate. Come on. And I did it early so we could still start around 8:30-ish my time. So come on. Anyways, with that, first on deck, one of my favorites.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
You guys know I love my pet club. Talk about them all the time. It has changed my life. Any show we do, you guys hear us talk. Everybody's talking about them. Why? Because they're great. That link is also down in the description. And this next one, they're new, but you guys have seen me talking about them quite often. Why? Because it's pretty kick-ass. And some of you guys are already over there with me. I'll talk about the Patriot Social. Let me throw something on the screen for you guys to take a look at right there. Listen, so something I've been wanting to mention. You ever notice how hard it's gone to just say what you actually think online without getting buried by the algorithm somewhere? Aside from Rumble, that's how every social platform feels right now. I know because you guys share this with me. So I recently came across something called Patriot Social. And I'll be honest, I've looked at it, a few of these alternative platforms over the years, and most of them didn't seem worth trying. This one was actually put together quite well with many cool features. Not just some cool features, but it seems like the people that designed this were listening to us. Here's another look at the way some of these screens look over there on Patriot Social, but they were paying attention to us, folks. I'm on there right now, and here's the cool part. It is completely free to join. It only takes about 30 seconds to a minute. I'll leave the link down below. Some of you will see it in the live chat, but here's what you need to do. Visit thepatriotsocial.com/alpha. That's thepatriotsocial.com/alpha. That's my profile. Or once you get there, you can just search alpha and you guys will find me. The platform is cool. It has everything. And again, I'm going to be streaming to it, which is also pretty cool. So if you guys are looking for an alternative to diversify your battlefield where you're at, that's where you want to go. And again, scan that QR code or go and grab the link from the chat. So with that, let's bring on the content for tonight. Let me switch myself over there. If you guys saw that intro video, you thought it was pretty cool. I liked it. I'm not familiar with this account, Mr. Q17, but somehow it came across my feed and I started going through it and I was like, there's some pretty cool stuff on there. And so again, you guys know I like to, I already know everybody's looking like, oh shit, Alpha, we're not doing this in 3 hours. I see how many tabs you got out there. You've bamboozled us. Maybe a little bit, maybe just a little bit. No, we can get this done in 3 hours. I have confidence a little bit, but that video came from him or her. And I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm not going to read the entire post here, but I want to read the beginning just to give you guys a little taste of this person's work. Says the Q operation, the next phase, military intel confirms we're in the final act. The deep state collapse is accelerating in 2026. So that got my attention, and that brought my attention to the video, which is that trailer video that we saw at the beginning of the show. Because if you guys have read my other Substack article about what is the plan, you know I would agree with that opening statement right there. Continuing on. A non-strap-in 107 dropped a devastating truth bomb on January 14th of 2026, laying out the Q operation and what's exploding next. This isn't speculation. It's insider military intelligence confirming the plan is executing perfectly. Q was never a LARP. I agree. It was the beacon, the map, the keystone that drops guiding white hats through the storm. Now, with Trump back in command, the next phase is unleashing the hell on the cabal. So again, that was pretty cool. I like this person, and maybe we'll keep showing some of their content here on the AlphaWarrior Show. But again, Mr. Q17 for those of you that are interested. Get into the general news, and we got a lot of it tonight. U.S. Department of Labor. Made in America is back under POTUS. How solid is this? And again, we did start new on one of these other platforms. So if I can just get a couple more 5x5s from you guys, just so I know we're good, I would appreciate that. Half Troops over there on YouTube says 3 hours. I'm 8 years before you, Alpha. Oh, I love you guys. But again, made in America. This is awesome, folks. But the reason I wanted to put this at the front end of our news is earlier today when I was in one of these virtual town halls, you guys know I like to go into social media world and see what people are talking about, see what people's concerns are, see what the agendas are, see what the narratives are. And one of the things, and this came from, a couple of America, I'll call them everyday Americans. And their concern was, it was logical and it was fair. And it was, hey, man, stuff's still kind of expensive for us. Trump's president and stuff's still kind of expensive. And I get that. There are some things that are so expensive. Gas is, as much as Trump is working it for us, we get what the apparatus is trying to do. But this is what I want to remind everybody. And for some of you guys, this is going to be a repeat statement, but it's worth repeating because obviously people haven't heard it. Folks, the reason so many of our products break all the freaking time is because they're made in other countries. And some of that shit is made through child labor or forced human trafficking labor. And again, it's done for pennies. It's slavery that is building a lot of these products we have outside this country, then gets put into this country, and then American manufacturers go out of business because how's an American manufacturer gonna sell a good quality American TV that's gonna last you 20 years but cost you $600 when you got Walmart or some other big box store that is going to sell you a TV that looks the same, will last you maybe 3, 4, 5 years, and it's a fourth of the price. So again, this is what I said in that virtual town hall, aka X Spaces. This is what I said. There's going to be a group of generations that are going to have to just take it on the chin and bite the bullet. And if that's us, so that our kids, our grandkids, and our great grandkids don't have to, well, then let's just suck it up, folks. Because somebody's going to have to. And I don't want my kids to be the one that had to do it because we were too afraid or because we didn't want the inconvenience or whatever the case may be. So understand that this photo's it's fucking beautiful. That tag, made in the USA, that's our country, our soil, American hands, whether on a machine or whether putting the thread through it itself. That's American. And again, that curve to bring the manufacturing back to this country is going to cost. We're going to feel it. So I just want to remind you guys, I get it. I get it's tough. I'm not discounting that. But just remember that as you're feeling it being tough, just remember that we're doing it for the generations behind us as well as our country. Because now that we've seen what they've done to us, and as long as we teach our kids that, hey, we took it on the chin for you guys, but this is why, this is how we got here. Don't let it repeat. And you guys continue to teach. Then this tag is what becomes commonplace when you go to Walmart, Target, or whatever store you want. This is what we want to see all over the shelves. It's the way it should be. That's my opening rant right there. I hope you guys agree with me, and I think you guys will. Check this out. Here in California, folks, Steve Hilton puts out new poll. I love this one. Xavier Becerra loses ground to Steve Hilton in California's governor race. Becerra's down 6 points as Californians learn of his horrific migrant child abuse scandal. It won't be easy, but we have what it takes to beat the machine this November. Join us. Xavier Becerra loses ground to Steve Hilton in California governor's race, says the poll. And again, we're hearing stories like this across the country. Different reasons, but we're hearing this. We're hearing about incumbent governor Democrats, incumbent Senate Democrats that are all of a sudden, things don't look promising for them. And some of them have already been passing the polls, right? Air quotes. But still, it's however you want to look at it. It is a narrative that's out there, but it's a narrative that the Mockingbird media is putting out there that doesn't benefit the establishment. So while this is going on, because remember, there's multiple targeted audiences here. There's the surface level normies, right? And that's, I think these headlines are tied into that, right? And then there's the other stuff that we know what's going on. We know what's going on with the voter ID. We know what's going on with the court fights, like the deeper rooted parts, but all that's happening together. That's supporting what we see in this headline. So anyways, fired up with that one. Wanted to share it with you guys. U.S. Army put this one out. Sergeant Major Mike Vinning. You guys will recognize this face right here. You understand why. The man, the meme, the Army legend, the retired EOD technician and founding member of multiple elite units. Vinning made his mark on Army history early in his career when he helped destroy a weapons cache with over 7 million rounds of ammunition. He gained fame online as the subject of Army memes thanks to his unassuming demeanor and stack of medals. In honor of his birthday, here's a small part of his incredible story. Now, again, you guys can go and read more about the Sergeant Major, but here's the part that I want to cover. And they highlighted here, right? That his accomplishments, kind of were not really recognized, because you look at this guy and you're like, he doesn't look threatening, looks like a normal dude. He's got a good smile on his face. But when you look at what's on his chest, you're like, damn, this dude was about business. Folks, people like this are operating all over this country. There is military intelligence working amongst some of you in your civilian areas. Look just like this. Working in schools, working in universities, some uncovering the machines, some infiltrated institutions, some in the military, with a very public face like this guy. But these people are everywhere. And so just think about that before you judge a book by its cover. I think there are a lot of, I don't know, maybe we call them ghosts that live and work among us. And unlike the Sergeant Major, we may never know about their job. But to all of you, because I know some of you watch this show, thank you for your service. Thank you for doing a service that's never going to publicly get recognized. Thank you for doing a service that probably takes away a lot from your life. And there's a lot that you got to keep to yourself. And just understand, for those of you that are watching that can't say, that we appreciate you guys. And our prayers are with you, ghosts that are out there. Let's keep going on. The White House, this is, information a lot of you heard. But again, there's some people that only get to watch this show once a week. So I want to make sure that they're aware. The U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, he has officially been sworn in. And there is the photo right there. Now, a lot of interesting stuff coming around Todd Blanche. People sending me stuff. He's tied to this. He was connected to this. I get it, folks. I get it. But you're forgetting what I've said numerous times. If you wanted to infiltrate the deep state, and if you subscribe to the concept, the game theory, that this is an operation that's been in play for years, if not decades, do you think people got into those positions by saying, hey, I'm the good guy, I'm the white hat, I'm here to infiltrate everybody, I'm going to be taking notes on all of you guys, because in 20 years from now, there's going to be a major takedown we're all going to do, but you're not going to know it's coming because I'm the mole. Like, you see how retarded that sounds? All right. And I love you guys, but some of you guys, you forget that. No, these people would have entered in through connections to go under probably one of the longest undercover assignments that exists out there at a great danger to themselves. And guess what? They're going to have pictures with people. They're going to have relationships with people. Trust me, I'm going to get into a segment in a little while about Scott Bezant. And some of you are going to be like, what the frank? No way. And then you're going to remember this conversation we're having right now. And you can be like, all right, I get it. I get it. Folks, the era we're in right now, there is no precedence for this. There is none. So we were taught through the boards and through other mechanisms, some of the people we know are good are going to turn out to be bad, and some of the people that we thought are bad are going to turn out to be good, and some are going to be in that gray area. We're now in the window where we got to judge people on what we actively see, because everything that has led up into this final phase of the operation, we don't know if it was undercover. We don't know, at least yet. What we do know now is that in this phase, Trump's showing the cards. These players are coming forward. Maybe Peter Thiel is a really bad, nefarious big tech guy. Maybe somebody that went in there to take it over. We don't know yet. So what I'm just saying, folks, is we're now in the stage of the operation where judge people on their actions in this administration and in this military, and that will give you so much more clarity and accuracy to things moving forward. But remember this conversation when we get to Scott Bezant, because some of you are going to be like, nah, bro, it ain't true, but it is. And I love Scott Bezant. You know that. Rapid Response 47 puts out real Tom Homan on anti-ICE Democrats. I got this clip for you guys, so let me just hit play.
Look, they say they want to abolish ICE. Even members of Congress say let's abolish ICE. But what they're failing to tell the people is we're enforcing the laws that they wrote, that they enacted. We're not making this up. We're doing the same job we did under, any other president, except under the last 4 years under Joe Biden, ICE wasn't allowed to enforce the law. If they look at the results of what ICE has done, right, yet record numbers of arrest deportation. In June, ICE arrested more illegal aliens than any time in the history of the agency. July, we blew June out of the water. August is going to be the same thing. And people need to remember, just short of 70% of everybody we arrest is a criminal. So we're removing hundreds of thousands of criminals from their neighborhoods, make their neighborhoods safe again. But they can have an answer to abolishing ICE. Okay, ICE just found 151,000 missing children that were smuggled during the Biden administration they lost track of. Some of these children were victims of sex trafficking. Some were forced into labor. We rescued those children, 151,000. So you want to abolish the agency that found 151,000 children. You want to abolish an agency that seasoned up fentanyl, kill every American 3 times over again. You want to abolish an agency that is attacking sex trafficking and women and children across that border. It just don't make sense. Again, we're making this country safe again. The numbers prove it. Simply look at the data.
I mean, you got to ask yourself, right? Over 150,000 of these children that have been found. And you have these people like, what's his name, Saeed, that are talking about getting rid of these guys. They are not hiding it no more. I'm telling you, and I've seen some other bigger shows that are using my talking points now. I get it. All right, I get it. But it'd be nice if you send me a little love. We are at that choke point. We're entering that fatal funnel. And this is the place where the deep state apparatus, they're not going to hide it no more. They're coming out straight out saying that it's going to be socialist America. It's going to be commie America. And then you got a lot of retards. Sorry, some of you guys are going to be in my audience, and I get it, but someone's got to tell you. A lot of retards that just want to say everything's a distraction. Get that stupid shit out of your head. Not everything is a distraction. There are distractions, but not everything is a distraction. Not everything is a script. Listen, folks, there's real shit going on that we have to recognize, we have to interpret, analyze, and then figure out how we're either going to subvert the bad guys or make sure that it doesn't cause chaos, confusion, and take advantage of our people during the fog of an information war. So again, don't be lazy, right? And say that everything's a distraction. It's okay to say, I don't know what the hell this is. Just remember, in information war, words matter, and we got to be responsible for our words, especially when we're talking amongst each other. But again, 150,000 children that are rescued. And these clowns want to end it. It's ridiculous. This one was interesting. You guys see the note that I'm blocking it, but I'll read it for you guys anyways. Enoch put this out there. Lone Borbert's son Tyler arrested on child sexual exploitation charges, and he's quoting from the USA Today article. According to the Garfield County Sheriff's Office, Tyler Bobert was arrested following an investigation involving the Sheriff's Office and local prosecutors. So I was like, I want to dive into this and see if there's a little more to this, right? I don't know. It was a hunch, and I dug into it. And again, I'm not going to excuse the behavior, but I'm going to provide context to the behavior here, and then you guys make your own judgment call. So I looked into it and see if there was an update. This is what I found. No major new developments on the child sexual exploitation charges themselves as of August 17th, 2026. The next court appearance is still scheduled for August 19th, so in a few days. Tyler Bobert, 21, son of Representative Lauren Bobert, was arrested on August 9th, 2026 by the Garfield County Sheriff's Office in Colorado on 5 felony charges stemming from an alleged 43-second explicit video. Authorities say he recorded it in early 2024, around February 1st, when he was 18 and his then girlfriend was 17, weeks away from turning 18. The charges included sexual exploitation of a child, induce and entice sexual exploitation of a child, possession with intent to distribute, sexual exploitation of a child involving video, and 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. He was released the same day on $10,000 worth bond. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here. The law is the law, right? 18, 17, that's an adult, that's a minor. Not going to excuse that. You guys know my background. But I will say context matters, because a lot of times when we see these headlines, we automatically assume that we're talking an adult guy. And when we hear child, we're thinking little one, like my tiny ones, right? We're talking small kids. And this ain't the case. And again, don't know how long their relationship was going on or anything like that. But I just wanted to provide the context. You guys provide your own judgment when it comes to that. But again, context is important. Let's carry on. This one's, man. Andrew Colvett puts out, wow. U.S. Attorney Jamie McDonald for the Southern District of New York just unsealed indictments against 11 people for allegedly running an expansive conspiracy to commit marriage and immigration fraud. Asking the only question that matters right now, Ilhan Omar and when. And I agree. This is a longer clip, folks. It's about 5 minutes, but you got to watch it because there's a couple of things in here. And of course, I pause it right where you can see some writing on the wall, because the writing on the wall matters here, because we got a couple of things going on. And again, we'll talk about it on the other end.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Jamie McDonald, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. As the Attorney General just laid out, today an indictment has been unsealed in the Southern District of New York, charging 11 defendants with an expansive conspiracy to commit marriage and immigration fraud. As alleged in the indictment, over a decade, the defendants and their co-conspirators orchestrated more than 1,000 sham marriages, which were designed to fraudulently obtain lawful permanent resident status, or green cards, for foreign nationals, primarily from the People's Republic of China. The defendants allegedly ran a full-service fraud scheme. The Attorney General laid it out for you, charging fees as much as $100,000 per green card. They recruited U.S. citizens to engage in sham marriages, arranged sham wedding ceremonies, complete with officiants, wedding attire, photographers, and attendees. They put together green card applications which they submitted to USCIS, and they manufactured evidence in support of these applications, including by staging photographs, opening joint accounts. They coached couples before USCIS interviews, and once a foreign national obtained a green card, they arranged for a divorce. The defendants arrested today played different roles in the scheme. Some ran the operation, identifying foreign nationals who were willing to pay for the green cards. Some found or recruited U.S. citizens to enter into sham marriages and carry out the scheme. And some facilitated the fraudulent applications by leveraging a network of marriage officiants, attorneys, tax preparers, and other service providers. Through this process, the defendants made enormous sums of money for themselves. We believe this network took in tens of millions of dollars over its decade-long operation, making it one of the largest marriage fraud prosecutions in U.S. history. Investigations of this scale require extraordinary teamwork, The charges unsealed today were made possible by a coordinated law enforcement response involving federal, state, local partners working closely with our office. Now, sometimes you all ask, well, how did this investigation, how did this case come together? The way that this case developed was really, truly remarkable. It began with a single communication that our office uncovered in an entirely unrelated case. Our prosecutors identified that communication, thought that it could be tied to a potential marriage and immigration fraud scheme. They moved quickly, they obtained warrant after warrant, and followed the facts where they led. Our prosecutors and our partners analyzed communications, immigration filings, financial records, photographs, and other evidence, and identified the key participants in the scheme and the many, many sham marriages they brokered in furtherance of it. Our prosecutors built and then charged a case aimed at dismantling the network itself. That's what the case today does. Their work wouldn't have been possible without the outstanding contributions of our law enforcement partners, but I do want to note that while this case today is aimed at dismantling the network, our investigation into other aspects of it, going up and down the chain, is continuing. I'd like to take a moment to specifically recognize some of the partners that we worked with for their invaluable contributions, Homeland Security investigations, and in particular the Hudson Valley HSI, the FBI and its Westchester Safe Streets Task Force, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Fraud Detection and National Security Directorate, the United States Army Criminal Investigation Division, the Westchester County DA's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Middle District of Florida, and HSI in Jacksonville. All did extraordinary work with our office to investigate and disrupt this sophisticated and expansive fraudulent network with remarkable speed. I commend our prosecutors and staff in the Southern District of New York, especially in our White Plains office, which is where this investigation was run and where the prosecution will proceed, for their speed, creativity, judgment, and determination with which they built this case. The defendants will be presented in the White Plains White Plains Courthouse later today. I'd also like to thank in particular the Attorney General and his office for his support in this investigation and the continued efforts of our office and all of our law enforcement partners. This case shows what coordination, hard work, the sort of whole of government approach that the Attorney General mentioned, and creativity of our nation's dedicated public servants can accomplish when we work together to protect the public. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Matthew Miller.
I gotta agree with Andrew on this one. Asking the question, what matters right now? Where's Ilhan Omar? I get it. Here's the other thing, though. CCP, again, this infiltration into our government. Trump came out and told us a few weeks ago, China with the elections. We're going to get into that. I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves. But there's a lot of information right now through declassified documents, through finally some somewhat resemblance of journalism, all pointing at the PRC, all pointing at the CCP, all pointing at China. And yet you don't see content creators and influencers that want to talk about it. They want to keep you focused on, it's the Jews, it's Ukraine, it's this. They want to isolate people's lenses and perspective to that conversation when the biggest threat, yes, I said it, the biggest threat that exists to us right now is China, the deep state apparatus that operates out of it. That is what we have to deal with. But there's people that want to ignore that. And I would challenge you to ask yourself, if you're someone that has that position, why? If you have a threat in front of you, yes, you got to address it. But if you have a threat to the side of you, you don't turn to address that one and forget the one that's in front of you. Folks, we are surrounded. Not just, in this kinetic warfare, this shadow warfare that's going on, but even in the ideological sense of it, we're surrounded. And so you gotta acclimate to that. And you got to be able to fight on several fronts. We're all going to have our priority, but you still got to be able to fight on several fronts. So Don't want to spend too much time on there because I actually do want to get through this one for you guys tonight. Mike Netter put out breaking again. Nothing's happening. 6 Texas officials have been indicted on voter fraud charges, including a Democrat judge and city council members. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, I know you guys like that, Election Integrity Unit, working with local prosecutors, secured grand jury indictments against 6 people on charges related to illegal vote harvesting, paid collection, delivery of mail-in ballots in violation of Texas Senate Bill 1 from 2021, and in one case, tampering with evidence. The group included Frio County Judge Rochelle Camacho, Democrat, imagine that, former Frio County Elections Administrator Carlos Segura, 2 Pearsall City Council members, Romero Trevino and Rachel Garza, and a Pearsall ISD School Board trustee, Adrian Ramirez, one additional person described as an alleged vote harvester, Rosa Rodriguez, and they're the faces of the criminals. Again, nothing. These folks, these are the cases that matter more than the big names. Why? The big names aren't the ones doing the work. These are the people doing the work. These are the cases. These are the arrests that the other worker bees, the other rank and file people that work for the deep state establishment, when they see this, they panic. They don't panic when an Obama gets arrested or a Bolton. Now, we love that, again, because that's vindication for us. That's the I told you so's. But let's understand, this is the stuff that actually affects the work product of the deep state. So when people are telling you nothing's happening, they just don't know what the hell's going on. And if that's one of you, don't be mad at me, but you're going to learn. You're going to learn, and you're going to see this through a different perspective, and then we grow together because, again, we're on the same team. Let's keep pushing on. Eric Dowdery puts out, again, nothing's happening. I got to pick on you. Former Democrat New Jersey Mayor Gina LaPlaca has just been charged with fraud. She faked signatures to obtain ballot placement in the 2026 primary, along with her husband. This is the same Democrat that was charged with the DUI in 2025 with her 2-year-old in the car. Absolutely ridiculous. Child endangerment. Absolutely insane. Democrat fraudsters are everywhere. They got nowhere to hide. And the people, they're being exposed. Let's keep going. Rep. Randy Ogles, huge news. After I filed articles of impeachment against the radical Obama-appointed Judge Allison Burroughs, you guys all know about her, she has dropped her blocking of President Trump's deportation of Somali aliens under TPS. This is why maximum pressure works. Judges who violate the law deserve impeachment. America first. Now, folks, this is why you have people out there that want to destroy your morale. Because there was a lot of people that got behind Andy on this one, and we're posting it and we're talking about it, and he's right. Maximum pressure works. A lot of people give the general a hard time, and some other people, but guess what? They are the loudspeakers for things Trump can't talk about, but Trump needs. And some of you just fail to recognize that. Maximum pressure works. You'll see where I'm going. Average Joe Patriot puts, watch California. He's referring to John Solomon. Senator Ron Johnson sent a request to California saying he is going to be investigating whether there were irregularities in the recent California primary, as reported by John Solomon. Shout out Average Joe Patriot out there doing great work. You guys may even see me on their show here in the near future. see how that works out. But again, folks, California and New York are huge. And both these states have been put under the magnifying glass. Do you think that that's by chance? Do you think that's happenstance? Or when you look at everything that was going on, go all the way back to the beginning of last year with the immigration issue in Los Angeles and Trump deploying the Marines and all that conversation. Think about the things we talked about then. Think about what I said all the way back then. What did I say? Right? You're going to see California and you're going to see New York be used as testing grounds to show everybody what is going on, right? Because it's the court of public opinion that matters. And we're about to get some more juice here in the next, my speculation, before this month is up, August 31st. Let's keep going. Dan Scavino puts this out, right? It's a picture looking from on the airplane of a photo. And you're like, well, what's that of? Well, that would be this right here. And so let me click on it for you guys. The White House, President Trump announces that American citizen and former U.S. Marine Robert Gilman is finally coming home after more than 4 years of imprisonment in Russia, where he was detained in 2022 under the Biden administration. Quote, after my discussions with President Vladimir Putin, Russia has agreed to release him very much on a humanitarian basis. We appreciate this decision and the fact that Russia asked for no one in return. No exchange took place. Robert will land at Andrews Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. tonight, where my representatives, some of whom are on the plane with him, will welcome Robert back to the United States of America. I just spoke to him, and he had one request, a great cheeseburger when he lands. I will take care of that. President Donald J. Trump. So, a lot of interesting stories surrounding the apprehension of this Marine while he was out in Russia. And I don't know enough. Hold on. My throat was drying up. I don't know. Okay, I shouldn't say I don't know enough. I don't know which way I lean on this, because I've seen sufficient theories on both ends, but I haven't seen sufficient evidence to really weigh my decision on this. So I'm going to reserve it. But what I will say is it is interesting surrounding this guy's detention. So again, he's home, and every American assumed innocent until proven otherwise, right? And so let's just be happy this American's home. But the other thing that's significant is that there was no exchange. Now, all right, you know what? Hell with it. I'm gonna give a little bit of one of the theories. Again, I don't want to place any type of thought on this guy that's not warranted, especially being a fellow Marine. But this thought is worthy of sharing. Trump makes a point to say that Russia asked for no one in return. No exchange took place. So, was this a prisoner that was returned? Because I would imagine Russia would have asked for a prisoner in return. Or was this a Marine on an operation that got snatched up, and Trump said, hey, we want our boy back, whether it was sanctioned under the good guys or whether it was sanctioned under the bad guys? We want our guy back because it's time to do a debrief. I'll just leave it at that. You guys can dig farther into it if you want, but until I get some more info, I'm going to leave it there. That's where I feel comfortable. Department of War CTO, Golden Dome for America, industrial portal now live. Anytime you see that word portal, it's the hairs on my neck are going to kind of raise and be like, all right, where are they going with this? Today, the Department of War is launching the brand new Golden Dome Hub website, hub.goldendome.mil. The Golden Dome Hub is direct access portal for industry engagement with Golden Dome Program Office. We're cutting red tape, simplifying the process, and accelerating the delivery of American innovation to strengthen the Department of War's lethal arsenal of freedom. Explore opportunities, submit capabilities, engage with the Program Office as we work to deliver the capability to the warfighter and defend the homeland. Explore, I almost read that one more time. And then again, it's right here. And here is the website for you guys. Sorry, I had a distraction here that caught my attention. Golden Dome Hub, defend your homeland, bring your best. And I want to break to a quick commercial real quick.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Sorry about that, folks. It just had some loud noise and I had to deal with that. So let's continue on. Again, my apologies. Eric Dowry puts, it's official. President Trump has classified the White House ballroom construction as a military project to circumvent the activist judges. Now, this is so important right here. Genius, and I agree, genius on this. 47 got Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane to confirm it. And then here's the quote. I declare there's a valid military requirement for a secure state-of-the-art facility that provides for physical protection of the president and the command, control, and communication capabilities necessary for the president to carry out his commander-in-chief responsibilities over the United States Armed Forces and anywhere across the globe at any time. Now, why is this so freaking important? Why does this matter? A, we know where have a lot of the military operations been run out of? Well, we would say, Mar-a-Lago South, right? the second White House in Florida. We've seen these things being run out of there, or we've even seen them being run out of SecCom. Well, if the speculation behind that, at least this is my speculation, I won't speak to others, but I know that there are many that agree with me, is because the White House has been rigged with listening devices, tracking devices, anything to compromise legitimate strategy or operational information or conversations that are taking place. So Trump is now trying to develop a alternative location in order for him to have this secured conversation. So there's OPSEC. And with that, it requires a building that he knows is built from the ground up that can't be tapped in or wired or have listening devices. This is that at the White House. And this is why they're fighting it so much. And what do we get as a result? Trump works around them and says, hey, we're going to consider this a military project. We're going to fund it this way so they can work around these activist judges. And it's genius. But the thing here that's more important is, yes, it's important because, well, one, Trump had to come out and he's identifying it as military, which is what a lot of us said from the beginning. If you guys remember, if we go all the way back to when they first talked about breaking ground here on the hall, right, the ballroom, the first thing that I did was I looked into the company that was in charge of breaking the ground, right? And if you guys remember this, because this was many shows ago, right, before anybody else had picked up on it, I said, this is interesting. When you research this country's history, and we brought up their wiki page, right? When you research this company's history, they're known for excavating and mining. Like this is, one of the things that they're very good at. They're experts at. Why would you need a company that's doing a ballroom that has that kind of expertise? And then we said, oh, unless that ballroom was just the lid of something more sophisticated. And what we have now is that quiet part being said out loud. And it is something more sophisticated. This is a military project. Now, again, if they're going to say they're calling it a military project in an effort to circumvent the activist judges, yes, I see that on paper. But I think this is also confirmation to yes, you guys are right. This is exactly what you guys thought it was. Again, you guys can let me know your thought process on that. I think I might even have this clip for you guys. Let me see if I do. I do. Take a listen.
To the Supreme Court. This comes after a D.C. appeals court rules it can't be built without congressional approval.
Our own Chanley Painter is here, and she has details on this. Chanley, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. So the federal appeals court affirming 2-1 that whether, quote, a massive ballroom should be constructed is for Congress to decide and not a matter for executive self-help. And it cites the Constitution as assigning Congress, not the executive, the responsibility to decide proposed changes to the physical design of the White House, and that in order to move forward, the Trump administration must obtain Congress's authorization. Well, President Trump blasted the ruling on Truth Social, saying, in part, quote, "We are presidents elected by the people of the United States of America and have many rights, including the right to fix, renovate, secure, protect, and beautify the White House grounds, which has been built and rebuilt and renovated and re-renovated, repaired, and simply made better." The president and his team also argue that the project is a critical safety issue.
This is a national security facility to keep the president safe, to keep his family safe, to keep senior officials safe, visiting dignitaries safe. We just had the attack at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we're actually having this conversation. Shame on these judges. Let's get real in this country. Let's have a court system that actually upholds the laws.
I mean, you guys know I like Steven, but I would be like, it's a ballroom, bro. Right? But we know it's not. And we know that that's why there's this energy behind it. Again, you guys know my piece. You guys can let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Then that shifts over. If you guys watched Overwatch and The Guardian, we touched on this here a little bit. But again, for those that only see this show once a week, I wanted to cover it anyways. Marco Rubio says we need to figure out what the hell is secretly flying over our military bases. Now, if you've ever played any of the Grand Theft Auto games, you know the most secured facility on these games is the military bases. And why? Because these are the things that also have a level of security in real life. If you've ever gone to the checkpoints, if you've ever gone through, states, where some of the freeways bring you very close, or if you just live close to base, the level of security, especially at some of these facilities. And Marco Rubio, and I'll play the clip for you guys here, is saying that there are things flying over our military bases and they're not ours. But does he look concerned? I don't know. You tell me.
What's a conspiracy theory that you believe in? I'm asking both of you.
A conspiracy theory that I believe in? Well, it's not a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Okay. And, but I have long been on this UAP thing.
Okay.
And now, I've sort of surrendered that portfolio to someone else who you know well, who's very much in charge of the UAP issue. Again, it's not, what I say is, I don't know who it is, I don't know what it is, but there are things flying over our military installation and they're not ours, and we should look into this, be serious about it. And I did that for a long time in the Senate, and it had two benefits. The first is that obviously it's a legitimate topic, and the second is, whatever the news of the day was, it was controversial, and a reporter comes up to you, and you say to them, look, I don't have time for these questions about politics. Do you realize there's things flying over airspace? We don't know what they are. And the reporter's like, oh, what do you know? Tell me more. So it was extraordinarily effective as a diversionary tactic in addition to. Now that said, it's also a very legitimate topic that we should be covering. So I don't call it a conspiracy. I don't know the answer to any of it. I'm just, asking the questions about, we should know what's flying over our airspace. But I don't think that's a conspiracy theory as much as it is just, it can be in some sense because people do believe we're covering something up. And I assure you, like in this administration, if we knew, like the president would be all over. Like there would be, prime time address. He would,
for sure.
He'd be showing the pictures and the videos. But, Stephen's on that case now, and I think he's doing a great job with that.
He's
Do you hear a lot about it?
No, he says it's classified.
Oh, okay.
I try. He's like, it's classified.
She doesn't believe in any conspiracy, do you?
What's your conspiracy theory you believe in?
No, I don't really pay much attention to that, to be honest with you.
We landed on the moon?
I believe that we landed. I mean, I do believe that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we landed on the moon.
I don't believe in any of that stuff.
I know there's some
I don't pay
people
attention to that stuff, honestly. I don't have, I'm doing my things with my kids. I don't really.
We landed on the moon, but did we land on the moon when we say we landed on the moon? And the whole different conversation. But again, body language and attitudes, personality matter. It's from my background when I would be doing interviews, this is the stuff I'm paying attention to, right? I can get a guy in an interview and I'm interviewing him as a murder suspect, and he can sit there and be like, oh, I'm not nervous, I'm fine, but his foot's going a million miles an hour, his eyes twitching, he can't sit still, and it's he's all over the place. Obviously I sense there's some uncomfortableness that's there, and I'm going to dig. And when you listen to Rubio and some of these other guys, now granted, they are professionals, they're experts who knows how long they've been doing this, and you got to weigh that into your assessment of their body language. But nonetheless, even in the most professional people, there are just some things that the body does that you can't control when it's uncomfortable. And those are absent here. So do I believe Marco Rubio when he says that there are things that are flying over our military bases and they're not ours? Yes, I do believe him. But does his voice tone and his body tell me that he's worried? No. Well, then the two things are in conflict, right? How can we have something flying over our most secured facilities and we don't know what they are? But again, he says we don't know. But if there's speculation, right? If there's information that he's only partially been read in or heard, and we know that we don't know what they are, but we have a strong likelihood of who is behind them. All I'm trying to say is I don't know, but there's something that gives him ease in the statement. And I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think on that, but it's what I pick up at least. Shifting over, Colonel Towner put this out there, and I thought it was great. She put, "This is not an accident. Who was on that jet? Breaking aviation news. And let me rewind this so you guys can see real quick. We don't need the audio because you don't really hear anything here. But actually, I'm going to go big screen with it to make it a little easy for you guys to see. But you see this, I don't know if that's a Lear jet, but you see this jet coming down the runway. And then, poof, right there, SUV hits the front of the cone. So, again, if you're in that SUV and driving, kind of looks like an accident. Or, kind of looks like it would be hard to sell that as an accident. It's a big-ass plane, and you're on the tarmac, right? Now, what I see from this, and I'm not saying that there's any textbook because, at least there's not one that I'm aware of. But if you were trying, if this was like, let's say, a suicide bomber or something like that, right? I think you would see a higher speed impact. I think you would see it aiming for the middle of the plane or the engine compartment, something like that. If it was someone trying to destroy the plane. This to me looks like somebody trying to prevent the plane from taking off. Kind of like the shit you see in the movies. You're not trying to kill the people on board, but you were trying to stop it from taking off. And so with that being said, again, I agree with the Colonel. This is not an accident. Who was on that jet? Yes, I see TS Bomb in the Rumble chat says pit maneuver for a plane. Call it something, but definitely interesting. And then again, folks, for any of you that are dropping any Rumble rants tonight, or if you're on YouTube dropping a super chat, I will get to those at the end of the show. So don't think that I'm missing them or forgetting them. This brings us to Ashton. Ashton says, and if you guys, I haven't had him on the show in a couple years, but he's the one that taught us a lot about the Malaysia flight. I think it's Malaysia Flight 370. You guys can correct me in the chat if I got that wrong. But the plane that disappears into the portal. Ashton's just a brilliant guy. Actually, we should probably bring him back on the show to kind of get an update because he's into a lot of stuff, and he's now having the conversations where he's like, folks, if I disappear, it's because I'm talking about some of this other stuff. But anyways, that's Ashton. Here's what he says. He goes, bless your heart, James Fox. You mean well, but you don't fully grasp the scope of the issue. Alien technology is a weapon. Once we use to maintain supremacy over the planet. Do you really think we're afraid of Iran getting a nuke or perhaps something much more powerful? Disclosure leads to our annihilation. It's only a matter of time. Going dark on me there, Ashton. But let's take a listen.
This is a cover-up. You all know it.
Powerful statement. The music definitely adds some pizzazz to that, right? You guys have heard me say it before. I'm not the first one to say it. I believe Ronald Reagan actually was the first one to say it. If there was anything that was going to bring all of humanity together, it would be the understanding that an alien threat exists. We will see, folks. We will see. Moving on, Department of War Rapid Response. Secretary of War says, today we launched the motto of the ACCC. Damn, I'm so tempted to re-enlist.
That's why today we launched the motto of the ACCC, which is we do bad things to bad people. Because for too long, bad people did bad things to good people inside the United States of America and across Central and South America. And we're going to empower great Americans and great partners to do really good stuff and be very capable about bringing violence against drug cartels and designated terrorist organizations, because we're dead serious about securing the homeland. We're dead serious about the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is not just talk, it's not just a policy extension of Teddy Roosevelt. It is a recognition that DTOs, foreign terrorist organizations, will not control our hemisphere with our partners, and we will not allow foreign malign influence to take over, say, key terrain like the Panama Canal.
I like that cross tattoo you got over there, Pete. Let's see. You guys can see. Hold on. These cameras. There you go. Anyways, you can't see it. I was trying to show you guys. Here's the thing, folks. The morale is being boosted in our military. Again, I've talked about on some of the other shows, even with one of our sponsors, right? Neutronics Labs. Use promo code Alpha IGF. Every service member over the age of 30, active or reserve, is getting their T levels tested. They want to make sure that we have capable warfighters in our military. Why? Because there is a legitimate ground threat that exists to our country. And not to be hyperbolic or push fear porn, I'm not about that, but I do want to make sure that we're conscious of the threats that exist. Let's rewind just a second and go back to Biden's administration. During that administration, we have what they've agreed to conservatively, right, on Mockingbird Media, around 12 million people that came into this country illegally. People like J.J. Carroll and others that I've talked to believe that number is 25 million plus. Some have argued 30 million plus. Even if we went with the conservative 12 million, that's a huge number of people. And just to put it into perspective, if you go back to the war that I was a part of in Iraq in 2003, the largest amount of military that we had present in Iraq at one time was just around 300, just a little over 300,000. And if you remember looking at the map, you saw the map with troops all over the place, right? So even if you went with that 12 million number, that is an insane. That's a military deployment into our country. And I do believe that our guys are out there, and our intel, our military intel, along with our civilian intel, is tracking these guys and dealing with that threat. Which brings us to this post. MAGA Voice puts it out. President Trump stunned America by getting Mexico to do a mirrored operation with America to stop Mexican cartels. This is massive news. I voted for this, and just so you guys can take a quick look at it right here. Audio is not so important, but you're seeing Mexico along with our homeland security protecting our borders. And it doesn't stop there, and we're going to get into it. I believe I have that post too. If that pops up a little bit later. If not, I do have it a little bit later. If not, then I'll tell you guys about it in tomorrow's show. But we're getting some of the parts of our border where we're adding some fence, and we're talking about a military deployment there. But I do believe I have that later in the show, so I don't want to talk about it now. This one threw me I was not aware of this. So if you guys were, shout out to you, but I didn't know this. If you're not familiar with that guy on the screen, that's the Mr. Hugh Hefner himself. And John Solomon put out, this was yesterday. He goes, Hugh Hefner reported Epstein to the FBI in 2005, but it was apparently backburned for 15 years. Now, this is what's interesting to me. We know that Playboy was used. I shouldn't say we know. The speculation is that Playboy was used as a honeypot operation. But if we have Hugh Hefner that had reported Epstein to the FBI, was Hef on the good guy payroll? Was Hef a double agent, a mole, an infiltrator? This one's just interesting because if Hugh Hefner was part of the apparatus, why in the hell would he be reporting Epstein? Remember, this is back in 2005. There's something here. Because there's no way you're going to get me to sign off on the idea that Epstein's a good guy. I think they got control of him at the end, but that doesn't mean that he's a good guy. The guy's scum, demon walking the earth, right? But I see Peggy Sue got married, says competition. Hello. If it was simply competition, I think Hugh was the guy on paper. I don't think Hugh was worried about that. But again, if he's reporting it to the FBI, then he's also reporting something that's, supposedly criminal in nature. And so, but I do see Mr. Sky says CIA honeypot versus Mossad honeypot. I would see that argument too if I separated the two, but I don't separate the two. Here's the dilemma. What the hell's going on here? So again, going to be diving into this one a little bit more over the next few weeks. I'm actually going to reach out to somebody that I know that's a little closer to the source here to get their thoughts on this. But again, Hugh Hefner, folks. So with that, as we get into our first actual theme of the night, I want to take a moment. Let me go big screen with me, because you guys know I absolutely love Rumble, because when everybody purged us. And if you guys don't remember, the one platform with the red square and a white triangle that I'm on right now, them along with Twitter had shut me down while I was doing a live stream with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, putting out critical information that people needed to hear. And during the show, not afterwards, during the show, they shut me down permanently, which was terrible. Rumble did it. Rumble gave us a home and allowed us to get that information out to you guys. So with that, the Rumble wallet. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so that you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks so that instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you have felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and it makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. That connects with MoonPay so that you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download the Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. So appreciate that very much. And you get a cool little thing when you go and you donate via the Rumble wallet on Rumble. Let me bring this back up. And now let's get into some of this very disheartening, sad news. Scott M puts out, many people put out, but this is the one that came across my feed. He goes, watch. He goes, Hayden, Panettiere. I don't know if one of you guys wants to help me out in saying that and give me the pronunciation way out in the chat if I'm saying this wrong. But Hayden says that when she was 18, a woman she trusted as a protector took her below deck on a yacht and physically put her beside an undressed, very famous man. I'm going to play this clip for you guys. But while I play this clip, this is the part. This is why I'm saying, right now, initial indications as it's being reported say that there's no foul play. This looks like a cardiac arrest issue as a result of a potential overdose. And I'm sorry, folks. I'm not buying that shit. You look at Paul Walker, right? Finding out about the finances in Haiti. I mean, let's just go down the list. We have Anne Heche, right? The brakes go out on her car and we're seeing, doorbell ring cams and all this stuff. She pops up on the gurney. It's every time that we see people that come out and are providing information that is going to put us down something, they die some way. Now, again, I saw somebody put witness protection. I would hope so. My prayers would be that case. And I do believe some are. But I won't say all of them are because that wouldn't be feasible. I wouldn't believe it, And here's the thing: if every time you went to take someone out there, put in witness protection, then what would end up happening is the deep state would just start doing it covertly, and you wouldn't even know that these people are targets until they're gone. And so, again, I don't think every one of them is witness protection. Again, 18 USC 3521 for those that want to go and research part of that, but it is possible, and I would hope that be the case. But again, I just want you guys to think about all the people, Isaac Cappy, right? The second they start to name names of the elite, they die. And so with that, let's take a listen to this. A couple things to pay attention to here. One, what a fucking tragic story, right? A lot to unpack there. But what she said there at the very tail end, that had been let down so many times before that when I finally found someone, what does that tell me? Aside from the man, we'll get into that conversation. Let's talk about this woman who her friend, that she says was a friend of hers, someone she trusted. This woman, right? Call her the madam, call her the handler, right? She's the one that exploited her trust and took her down there. Now, again, the whole scenario, when you zoom out and you look at this, when she says I'd been let down so many times before, what does that tell me? If I go back to my law enforcement days, that tells me that this woman, this handler, this recruiter, she already knows which girls have trust issues and already knows the course of manipulation to get her to trust them, to become their handler, to become their recruiter, to exploit them, to get them into these predicaments. And predicaments with an S. I saw somebody had posted that in there. Yeah, I caught that too. So again, you have that too. How terrifying, how absolutely terrifying for this to unfold on a freaking boat. What are you going to do? Right? It's easy to say, yo, just jump off the boat and swim in the middle of the damn ocean. You know, who knows, right? But again, she's saying, you know, I try to do what I could do to try to hide wherever you can. And when they're talking a boat, I imagine we're talking probably a large vessel, a yacht, something like that, you know, fairly good size. But just imagine all the other girls that were probably victimized on there. And again, if she is dead, right, not witness protection, not anything like that. If she is dead, one, I have a hard time believing that it was an overdose that caused her cardiac arrest. I just do. You know, I think she had a book that was just came out, or had one that was coming out. I don't know if one of you guys can clarify that for me. But I do know that there was talk of her coming out to say names. So again, I don't know if it was going to be a follow-up to her book, or if she was going to do it while she was on tour. I don't know the circumstances around that. But I do know that there was either a book or that's already just came out, or one that was coming out. But again, there was a lot of conversation coming from one of her friends that she was getting ready to put out names. So there's that. But nonetheless, folks, here we are. She's talking about a major famous person. And is that major famous person that she's referencing, is that the person that started the chain of events that led to her ending? I don't know. It's all speculation, but nonetheless, it's freaking heartbreaking. So here's a little bit about her if you're not familiar with her. Just kind of zoom through here. She had some TV shows. Scream, I think, was one of the ones, if I remember correctly. Ally McBeal. There's some voiceovers that she did too. But again, popular actress that's there. So with that, folks, I'm going to go to another sponsor. And when we come back, we'll continue with the show. Let me get these guys lined up right here.
Have you ever read the ingredients on the fiber supplements you're taking? Have you ever read the ingredients on the probiotic supplements you're taking? Well, you know, you're going to find things like corn syrup, preservatives, cornstarch, wheat dextrin, hydrolyzed corn, hydrolyzed gums. These are the kinds of things you're going to find in a lot of the supplements you're taking that are supposed to be good for your gut. And we all know how important the gut is for our overall health. Everything from acid reflux to mental health to irritable bowel syndrome to cardiovascular health to athletic performance. The research just comes out every day on how important our gut microbiome is to our overall health. Well, as an entrepreneur, we thought, hey, let's do this a little bit better. There's got to be something that is both better from an ingredient standpoint and also from a functional standpoint. And that's why we have Good Brew. Well, the Good Brew, no non-GMO, organic, no wheat dextrin, gluten-free, 2 ingredients, organic. Hey, you can put it in your coffee every day. What's better than that? Put it in your oatmeal, put it in your water, whatever you like, but it goes great with coffee. In fact, I just spoke with a chef this morning who was trying the product, and he said, hey, I drink my coffee black, and it was fantastic. So he's now a true believer in Good Brew himself. So you guys support us, and we think it's going to be a great thing for everybody.
Goodbrew.com/alpha. As a matter of fact, it's in my coffee mix. Oops. Just I saw that, spilled some coffee on the keyboard. Hopefully we don't get, you guys can see me get electrocuted. How did Alpha die? He electrocuted himself with coffee. Wouldn't that be a terrible way to go out? But at least I'd go out happy, right? Goodbrew.com. That's brew, BRU /alpha to get that discount. It's good stuff. It's great. It's going to put your gut in balance. Again, folks, if you're like me and you're investing into yourself with stuff like Nutronics Labs and Pet Club and kimchi, and you're doing all that, you want your body to maximize that stuff. So get some Good Brews so that way your gut microbiome is in balance, so that the good money that we're spending on all these quality products, that we get to actually use the majority of these these products. And I did see somebody in the chat. I wish I should have grabbed it. I wanted to give you credit, but I saw someone in the chat said, cardiac arrest could be from the jabs too. And very true. Very true. It's just the timing of, what the statement she provided and things that are happening makes it very suspect. But again, I would not discount that. So shift gears here and now get into, Fauci's in a panic. I want to play this quick clip. It's less than, I think it's like 5 or 6 seconds. But remember when we were being gaslit? Remember when we were being told that we were endangering our families and our coworkers? Remember when all that was going on, when everybody said that you were crazy, when you were outcasted from society, folks. Like, sometimes so many things are happening in the news cycle that we forget. And I just want you guys, as we get into this next segment now, rewind the clock back to 2021, 2022, where you were kicked out of your gyms, where some of you lost your jobs, where some of you lost your relationships, where some of you were in custody battles because you didn't want your child to get jabbed, but the other half did. Remember all that when you were told 6 feet, when little kids, they were introduced into society where they need to see facial expressions to match that up with voices and moods. Remember when all that huge psychological operation was ran on us? And with that in your mind, now let me play this quick clip for you guys.
The vaccines are safe. I promise you, they are safe and effective. Listen to Dr. Fauci.
Remember that? If you had any opinion that went against the grain on that, you were deplatformed, you were put in social media jails, you were looked at through the government. In some situations like mine and others, you had the FBI monitoring you if you had an opposing statement. And look at where we're at here. So again, I wanted to make sure we just remember as we shift gears here. Senator Ron Johnson put this out. Fauci on August 30th, 2021, quote, "It's really one of those things that's kind of not close at all, a close call. It really is pretty clear that pregnant women should get vaccinated." Take a listen.
However, when you look at the unvaccinated versus the vaccinated, there is absolutely no increased risk of that. So because of that, the CDC and the ACOG, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, who used to say it is okay for pregnant women to get vaccinated, to change now and say it is recommended that pregnant women get vaccinated. So it's really one of those things that's kind of not a close call. It really is pretty clear that pregnant women should get vaccinated.
I know some of you are taking some deep breaths right now. I feel you. Continuing on with the senator's posts, but 7 months earlier, he was concerned that the second dose of the COVID shot theoretically could be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester. I mean, you want to talk about destroying, and maybe this part is the one part that's not bad. If there's a silver lining to the psychological operation that happened during this time, maybe the silver lining is it got us to think for ourselves when it came to our health and our approach to sickness and illness or whatever the case may be. I saw somebody say troll, but you guys are talking about Fauci. Yeah, we got some mods in the chat. So if there's some trolls, they will deal with them. But yeah, I agree with you on this troll. Let's continue the skiff. Dr. Fauci knows he's cooked. This is what I was telling you guys about. As his lawyers released letter to Senator Ron Johnson declining to testify at his subcommittee for a transcribed interview after Fauci's pathetic "I plead the fifth" stunt. Fauci's lawyers demand that he's not summoned again. We the people demand that Fauci is held accountable. Folks, do you remember when he took the accolades You remember when he threw that retarded pitch at the baseball game? The highest pay, I think he has the highest pension in government. It was something like that. One of you guys can clarify in the chat for me. What was it? The presidential, was it the Medal of Freedom? I think that he was awarded. This guy had no problem taking the accolades. Yet, remember, trust the science. Fauci's the science. You remember all that bullshit? And now we're here. I'm going to try to do my best to read this part for you guys. As much as I can zoom in there. I'm just going to read the beginning part. Dear Chairman Johnson, we write in response to your July 29, 2026 request that Anthony Fauci, MD, appear for a voluntary transcribed interview before the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, the subcommittee on the subject of COVID-19 pandemic and the government's response to it. It is notable that your request came literally the same day that Dr. Fauci spent 3 hours appearing at a hearing regarding the same matters before the full Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, the committee, of which the subcommittee is a part. You have already publicly threatened to subpoena Dr. Fauci even before he has had the chance to respond to your letter. Dr. Fauci has testified before brief congressional committees well over 200 times throughout his 38 years as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID. During and after COVID-19 pandemic, he appeared multiple times for hearings in the Senate and the House, usually under oath, and sat for several days long, transcribed sworn interviews, answering questions about the very issues that are the subject of your letter and the July 29th hearing of the full committee. Now, you get where this is going. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is he was answering questions that weren't trying to elicit the actual information that we all wanted, because we're all told that we were the COVID deniers, that we were the conspiracy theorists. So he would, again, remember who said it earlier today? I don't think it was Eagle Ed Martin. We talked about at the beginning of the show, right? Maximize pressure, right? When we maximize pressure, that's how we get the stuff we want done. The reason they're asking those questions because they know that if they don't, we're coming for them. We're gonna have them answering questions. We're gonna have them under oath. We're gonna have them facing charges. And so this is where we're at now. And now Mr. Trust the Science, who pleads the fifth, and they're saying, well, of course it happened that day because he spent the whole damn day pleading the fifth. We learned shit. The only positive that came out of that hearing was we at least heard that they know the questions to ask now. And again, I would add there's some more, but for the most part, those were questions that we need the world to hear the answers and the responses to. Let's keep going. Canoka Great puts out news. Fox News, John Roberts says he developed pericarditis after his third COVID shot and that it worsened after his fourth one.
Breaking right now, Republican Senators Ron Johnson and Rand Paul releasing the first batch of text messages from Dr. Anthony Fauci's government iPhone. In one exchange from January of 2021, Fauci, then CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, and then Surgeon General Vivek Murthy discussed COVID vaccination and pregnant women. Fauci flags a potential concern after the second dose, writing that many people experience, quote, significant cytokine storm and fever, and that this, quote, theoretically could be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester. Walensky responds, quote, definitely a good point, especially after dose 2. A cytokine storm is essentially when the body releases too many inflammatory signals that could cause high fever, inflammation, and in extreme cases, life-threatening illness. So this is just coming to light now, Sandra, that Fauci had these concerns. And I remember when I got the boosters, I developed pericarditis, then that went away. Then when I had the second booster, it came roaring back again. So, the body reacts differently to these things depending on who you are.
Why wouldn't they go out and tell their audience, hey, I got myocarditis, I got pericarditis, I got this issue, that issue, instead of calling all of us psychopaths for saying that that's exactly what it does. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember we had transit buses? I remember when I was working in Hollywood doing the canine jobs and seeing Hollywood transit buses with the Bayer for children for heart attacks. And they were trying to sell it to us that small children getting strokes and heart attacks was normal. It's like, get the F out of here. We were all kids once through multiple generations, and no, that shit ain't normal. And the only thing that introduced into society were the jabs and COVID. One would just argue one and the same, right? And then let's put a bow on this one right here with some good news. Tara Thornton, and look to see her coming on the show here pretty soon. She's a war fighter out here in California. Part 1, parents, Trump's new executive order on childhood vaccines does some big things. And let me play this clip for you guys because I think, do I have this clip? I do not have this clip for you guys, but I'll just read it for you guys. It changes the federal childhood vaccine recommendations so that 7 of the previous 18 diseases covered, including Hep B, COVID, flu, are no longer universally recommended for every child. It also tells states to reconsider their school vaccine requirements. Big deal right here for the Luna household. Meanwhile, Newsom's California still recommends Hep B on day 1 of the life for every baby. Remember, there's no law in any state requiring any child to get any vaccines. The shot mandates are tied to attending school and daycare, and most states provide functional exemptions like religious or personal belief. California, New York, Maine, and Connecticut are the 4 states without functional exemptions. Reminder, California kids with IEPs cannot be denied their services and do not need an exemption. That's why this part of the executive order is so big. Trump is directing the DOJ to take on the state vaccine laws that violate religious freedom, including the fight over religious exemptions. California, New York, Connecticut, and Maine, we finally have the federal government in this fight with us. Keep the pressure spotlight on them. Go all in, part 1 of the video. And again, this is huge. Why? And I'll tell you how this had a direct impact here on my household. If we rewind the clock all the way back to November of 2020, it's when we had my little Allie, our princess. And, was not the first child for either one of us. So we'd been down that route before, but it was the first time with me and the missus that either one of us was taking the position that our baby was not going to receive any vaccinations. Like, that was our position. And here's the interesting stuff, because there's a lot to this story, and I'm just going to give the short version of it in the interest of time for this show. Is at the time, when we found out that we were going to have a baby, I started doing all this research into the vaccines because, this was all stuff that we were learning about. This would have been the earlier portion of 2020. And there was a lot of information that I found out there. Again, you had to dig, but that was out there. And I had screenshot some stuff. I had saved a bunch of links and all this. And that part will come in later in the story. But nonetheless, I had researched the vitamin K, and I had researched Hep B, and I had talked to a lot of people. And we came to ultimate decision, our baby is going to be a pureblood. This is what we're going to do. And so during the moment our daughter's born and we're in there in the delivery room, and it feels like, not even an hour's passed yet before they're coming in, you got to sign papers and get ready for these vaccines. And told the nurse, appreciate it, but, we're not going down this route. I don't remember the exact words we used, but that was the message. And the nurse was like, okay, that's fine. I'll let the doctor know. And so then again, probably within 30 minutes or an hour after that, now the doctor comes in. And again, a lady was, the entire process for us was very pleasant, but this was that awkward moment. And so when the doctor comes in, and again, in a very soft voice, but very scary words, she tells us, well, just understand that, if you don't get I believe it was the vitamin K, it was the vitamin K shot, and your daughter develops a bleed, like, she can die from that. She can get a brain bleed and a brain bleed, and die from that. Now imagine you're a new parent, folks, and this is the white lab coat that's telling you this precious little life that was just born, right? It's your job to make sure this precious little life is safe and protected. And this person, the authority, right? This is the authority, is telling you, hey, that your decision could probably kill your baby. If it wasn't for the research that I had done and shared, we probably would have gone freaked out and been like, okay, well, we'll just do that one then, right? But no, we were very confident, and we were positioned well with information that we still said respectively no. And then we had to sign forms saying, that we weren't going to do it. But I remember thinking, even with all the research I did, it scared me. It scared me to hear that. And so now we're down into a new situation now, because both our little girls are still both purebloods. Neither one of them has any shots. They are pureblood, healthy, beautiful little girls. But because we're in California, like Tara was saying, to get the exemptions here, one, you got to go through their doctors that are registered in their, I think it's called like the CARE program or something like that. But again, it's going to be doctors that, if they're in that program, obviously they're aligned with the ideology of the state, right? So there's no dice there. And so I was like, well, we'll go to a private school. Kind of find out that the private schools operate under that same thing. So again, talked to a bunch of people here that directed me towards a phenomenal private school that does a homeschooling program, which is what my little one will go into. And the reason I'm sharing all this with you is because I know I'm not the only one, but here's the part that I'm excited about that also weighs heavy on me is, one, my little girl's smart. I'm going to teach her well. All right. She's already can pretty much do her name at 5 years old. She can count. She knows her alphabet. The girl is just brilliant. But when we talk about school, she's telling me, well, I want this uniform, Daddy. And I want my, my Sonic lunch pal, Daddy. And her understanding is that she's about to go to school full time. And I've kind of been explaining to her, it's not going to work that way. I do get to take her to the lunch and I get to take her to recess, but then we leave. And that's the part that I'm getting worried about, folks. What am I going to tell my little girl when we get into Daddy's truck to come home? And she's like, why do the other kids get to stay? And what happens when she finds out, well, why am I different, Daddy? And again, I'm going to have this conversation, but it irks me that it even needs to be had. And the other part that irks me is I want her to experience that social environment. And I'm one of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of parents, in the state and around the country that are dealing with this. And folks, it ain't going to change unless we put the pressure. So again, when we have people like Tara and her partner that's up in Northern California that are actually fighting these fights, we got to get behind these people. If you're in a state, get behind these people. Again, there are a lot of people that will acquiesce to control. And then the last thing on this, I promise we'll move on. Somebody please explain this to me, right? So if you're concerned with my daughter going into the school environment because she's unvaccinated, where she's going to be sitting at a desk and she's not going to be touching other kids because she's at her desk. She can't do that, but she can go into the cafeteria where these kids are going to share food and goodies and go to recess where they're going to play tag and touch all the same toys. It doesn't make any sense. So what can we reduce the whole point of this down to? It's about power and control. It's about getting parents to say, you know what, this is too much of an inconvenience. This is going to be too expensive. We're just going to vaccinate our baby so she can go along with the process. Folks, stand your fucking ground. And things will change. And if they don't change, we move to cities and states and counties where they match our ideology and the stuff that we do believe in. Again, long rant, but thanks for letting me get that off my chest, folks. Let's keep going here. Now it brings us into MJ Ultra. This is the one. This goes into the Scott Bessent one. I think this might be the one. Nonetheless, Scott Bessent isn't looking. Oh, no, we're not there yet. I know where we're going right now. Scott Bessent isn't fucking with Iran. Sorry. Watch out for next week because we're going to be applying measures never seen in the history of economic isolation on a country. Question: what do you see Democrats and Tucker Carlson who say Iran is winning? And I do have this clip for you guys.
In this war to dismantle this regime in Iran economically and inflict kind of heavy financial damage on it. The methods that Treasury has been using to do this in this war have been described as brilliant. From what I understand, the sanctions targeting their banking system and multiple networks spread out across several countries that enable Iran's banks to move hundreds of millions of dollars. You're limiting the ways that this regime can move money in ways it seems we haven't seen before. The president is calling this kind of low-keying it right now. We're not going to go back into bombs. We're going to let you try and dismantle this thing in a different way. Is that how you feel this war could end?
So, Rob, a year ago, last March of 25, President gave me the order to apply maximum pressure to the Iranian regime, and Treasury did. And we've been going after, as you said, their bank accounts, crypto wallets, assets around the world, cutting off payments into both the leadership in the regime and the government itself. As a result, in December of last year, December of 2025, one of the largest banks, or the largest bank in Iran, collapsed. The central bank had to print money, created huge inflation. Then in March this year, or February, we started the kinetic war. The kinetic war ended after several weeks, and we went from epic fury to economic fury. And at the president's orders, we have raised the level even again. And watch this space for more announcements coming next week, because we are going to apply measures like have never been seen in the history of economic isolation on a country. And I think the reason we are succeeding is because it is a 1-2 punch. People say, well, Cuba lasted a long time, Venezuela lasted a long time. Venezuela immediately crumbled when we put the blockade on. So it will be a combination of economic isolation like the world has never seen before, and the continued blockade in the Strait of Hormuz that will keep anything from going in or out of the Iranian ports.
So when a Democrat says Iran's never been stronger, what's your reaction?
Then it's typical that they're uninformed, deranged, and have no idea what they're talking about.
How some people could be rooting for countries that chant death to America is just wild to me. Wild. I do know that some of you in the chat asked, what school? I love you guys, but there's no way. Not that I don't trust you guys, but you guys know there are bad people that wish to bring harm to me and mine. So what I will say is, if you are someone that's asking that question because you're in Southern California, in the area that I'm in, and you want to know for your kid, email me, alpha@thealphawarriorshow.tv, alpha@thealphawarriorshow.tv. And after me going through a process of vetting who you are and someone that doesn't mean my family harm, I will share that information with you and educate you with that, so you can see if that's an option for you and your family. But just understand, folks, there are some really bad people that would love to bring hurt to me, and would have no problem using my kids to facilitate that. I mean, you've seen some of the idiocracy that's already been posted, that they're not even my kids, right? There's absolute retards that are out there. But nonetheless, I know how much this decision has impacted, me and the missus with our decision for our little one, and how much that can impact you guys. So if you're someone who wants, guidance and my information, I'll happily share that with you and talk to you at length. I've been talking to the school and to people, and I'm getting into a parent group of people that do homeschooling, all this stuff. So I want to help out as much as I can. Southern California, the Coachella Valley area. I saw somebody ask what part of California. So Southern California, specifically the Coachella Valley, is where I'm at. But to bring it here again, we're now in that week that Scott's talking about. And if you guys have been watching DeathCon, Overwatching the Guardian, Q After Hours, any of the shows me and Josh have been doing, we've been telling you guys, and I've even said August 31st, right? We've been telling you we're getting into some heated times here in August, and this definitely is an indicator to that. But let's keep going, because this is going to get interesting pretty quick. Sarah Adams, some of you love her, some of you don't, but I do love the content that she puts out there. She's smart. This post is incredibly odd. What is she talking about? Rapid Response 47 puts this: based on my very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, I am not happy with the fact that the United States has long ago agreed to participate in joint military exercises with South Korea. These exercises are not only costly, with much of these costs paid for by the United States of America, as usual, but send a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to a country that, as long as Donald J. Trump has been president, has been unthreatening and respectful. Therefore, and based on the fact that it is too late to cancel, I have instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to substantially reduce the joint military exercises. While somewhat unrelated, with a question mark in parentheses, I recently asked the president of South Korea if they would like to join us in the denuclearization of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they said, no thanks. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, why does this all matter? Well, for those of you that have read part one of my Substack, which we're going to get into here in just a second, this will make a little bit more sense. But let's get into one more before we get into that. The general puts in very simply, but yet very powerful, 5GW, fifth generation warfare. And what is he talking about? This picture reported by Bricks News just in. President Trump says North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and I get along great. Again, and we're going to bring back the general in probably part 2 tomorrow, because we're not going to get through the whole show tonight. That is the obvious, right? But he comes out and he says fifth generation warfare. And what is he telling you, folks? Is the messaging for you, or is it for someone else? What's the narrative that's here, so you can understand what's going on? And to help you with that, I'm not going to show this entire one. Let me zoom in. But this is an article that I created for you guys, and I just released it, I think, yesterday or the day before. No, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Or it might have been the day before. My days blend, folks. I need to get some sleep. But it's called The Power War. Part 1, 3 weeks. Alaska, Japan, and the new Pacific energy map. You guys heard me reference this earlier. I'm just going to read you a little portion of the series preface here, and to let you guys, I'm telling you guys, it's free. So one, there should be no hesitation. There's no paywall on this. This article is free. For those of you that know me, stuff that I think is imperative to our movement when it comes to operational stuff, I don't put that behind a paywall. And in some situations, even some of the stuff I have behind a paywall, you guys all know, if you reach out to me, I'll provide you the Word document that just lacks the photos and videos, but you still get the content. But here, let me just read this to you guys real quick. There are moments in history when seemingly unrelated events begin to make sense only after the map is pulled back far enough. A natural gas pipeline through Alaska, Japan quietly calculating how many weeks of liquefied natural gas it has available, South Korea investing in American energy infrastructure, Taiwan searching for more secure sources of fuel, Vladimir Putin landing at an American military base in Alaska, President Donald Trump repeatedly turning the world's attention toward Greenland, China building power plants, electrical grids, data centers, and artificial intelligence infrastructure at extraordinary scale, and across the United States, an increasingly consequential debate over how quickly America should build the massive data centers necessary to compete with the emerging age of artificial intelligence. Taken separately, they appear to be different stories. What if they aren't? This is a 3-part series, examines a much larger competition taking shape between the United States and China, one that extends far beyond tariffs, military spending, or even artificial intelligence itself. Because artificial intelligence doesn't actually exist in the cloud. It exists in an enormous physical buildings filled with processors consuming enormous amounts of electricity. Those processors require advanced semiconductors. Those semiconductors require minerals, sophisticated manufacturing, and secure supply chains. The electrical system supporting them requires generation, transmission infrastructure, natural gas, nuclear power, and access to resources increasingly caught inside geopolitical competition. The International Energy Agency projects global data center electricity consumption to roughly double from 2025 levels to about 950 terawatt hours by 2030, with AI-focused facilities growing even faster. The United States represents the largest share of projected data center electricity growth, followed by China. And again, to understand, even when you finish this first part in the series, and you think you're like, I know where he's going with this. Part 2 is going to be like, oh, and then you're still thinking you know where I'm going with it. And then part 3 is going to bring us full circle to where you're going to be like, oh shit, I get it. And not only are you going to get this, Alpha, do you have a mod on YouTube saying trolls are there screaming death to America? I thought I had a mod over there on YouTube. Maybe they're taking the day off. Let me take a look. I don't see there yet. If you guys see, all right, YouTube, I'm got an eye on you guys is in the chat. So if you see someone, let me know which handle it is, and so I can nuke them. And then we'll go from there. So it'll be bouncing back in the chat. So let me know. Again, if it's just arguing, folks, you guys know I'm good with the arguing. But YouTube banned me, even though founders. Almost 2K on Rumble. Solid, folks. You're only just a couple away from there, and almost 1,000 on YouTube. So we're there. But again, folks, to bring it back to this, sorry, folks, one-man show. So, you know, I do listen to you guys in the chat. That's why I glance every now and then, because I want to make sure your experience in the chats are fun too. But I'm telling you guys, go and read this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab that link right now. Actually, let me do this. Bear with me 1 second, folks, while I get this for you. So I can drop it in the different chats. And again, remember, it is free. So shouldn't have any worry with getting to it. And so there, Rumble and YouTube, you both have the links. And if you're watching the replay, I will pin it in the comments so you have it there as well. Now, let me continue on with the show because we're not done with this section. So that brings us here. Eric Dowry puts breaking: days after being inaugurated, Colombia's new right-wing president, good luck here, Abelardo de Asprilla, has just authorized joint U.S. military operations to target the cartels. Imagine that. Colombia has also joined President Trump's America Counter Cartel Coalition. Hegseth, I'm proud to announce that Colombia will join the A3C, becoming the 19th member, and through the newly inaugurated president, as our president likes to say, Presidente El Tigre, Colombia has already requested that the Department of War join Colombia in its fight against narco-terrorism. Take a listen to this. This is a quick one.
I'm also proud to announce that Colombia will join the ACCC, becoming the 19th member. And through the newly inaugurated president, as our president likes to say, President El Tigre, Colombia has already requested that the Department of War join Colombia in its fight against narco-terrorism, authorizing joint military operations to destroy terrorists and terror networks. Thank you very much. Aggressive.
So what does all this add up to? Again, if you're someone who's taken a listen to the Sovereign Alliance, whether it's me talking about it, Ghost, Josh, Burning Bright, we all have a very similar concept to this. What you're seeing here is the expansion of that. Because again, folks, when we talk about cartels, when we talk about, you know, MS-13, when we talk about these traffickers, that is the rank and file of the deep state. Those are the workhorses. The same when Trump was blowing up the quote unquote narco boats, guess what? Those are the same people trafficking weapons. Guess what? Those are the same people trafficking humans and children. It's the same people, folks. So just understand that this war against them, this, you know, the 3AC or the A3C that's out there, this is part of, in my opinion, this is part of that Sovereign Alliance to take on the rank and file of the deep state. Which brings us to this one, the Hormuz letter. Breaking: Iran warns it's preparing for military operations on U.S. soil following a new military doctrine tasking IRGC to attack enemy in its soil, adding Iran will take operations into enemy territory, into the enemy's lands, and carry operations far from our territory. IRGC senior advisor General Mohammed Reza Najib says, whenever the conditions are favorable and the order is issued, we must be able to take the operation into enemy territory. Now, remember what we said all the way to the beginning of last year when I said, folks, this is before we're going to get into some of this conversations here in a little bit. This was, I know some of you get so pissed when I say it. I don't understand why. Let's celebrate together. Before anybody was talking about it, I told you guys, I said, hey, if our border is secured to almost 90, I think it was 92 or 93% at the time within the first week, why are we still adding troops? And then we got to the point where Trump said it's 100% secure. And we were still adding military troops. And I said, we are adding troops even though our president told us the border is secure. Not only are we adding troops, when we went and looked deeper into it, what we recognized was we had the largest within the first 30 days of Trump taking president. To be conservative, within the first 45 days, you like what I did there, of Trump becoming president, we had the largest military presence at the southern border in U.S. history. Now, if the border's secured, why is that? Well, all of a sudden, now we're talking about the IRGC talking about taking fights to enemy soil. We go back over the last couple of years and we saw that the CCP had Chinese troops along our northern border in parts of Canada. Again, we know 12 to 30 million people came in through Biden's administration. Again, if we go back to late 2022, early 2023, when the Police and Sheriff's Association had a meeting, what did they tell us? That there was at least 2 million tier 1 threats that were in this country. That alone is this a very dangerous high number. What else do we know? We know that when Claudia Sheinbaum, right, started running things in Mexico, right, she wasn't going to be stopping the cartels because she doesn't control them, right? She's a talking piece. A lot of people know where that's coming from. But we saw these cartels. And so what were the things that me and Josh were telling you guys about, right? We were talking Venezuela before Venezuela was a thing. We were talking Colombia before Colombia was a thing. And we were talking in why? Because we saw the pattern of things coming on. Now, granted, we do have good people that talk to us and provide us guidance, but a lot of these assessments were made off just us recognizing patterns we saw. And now we're finally here. And why does this part matter? Because you have Democrats and people like Tucker Carlson that are paving the conversation to support the extremists that are calling that if I win governor, if I become senator, we're going to remove ICE. Think about all the stuff that we just finished talking about. And you have people that want to remove one of the agencies that is trying to protect us from that threat. And now you ask me if there aren't people compromised. Of course there are. And I know you guys know that. But this right here, this is the part that normies don't understand. But we do. Let's keep going. John Solomon puts, breaking Trump to declare the Strait of Hormuz as a U.S. territory. Could that be part of what Scott Bessent was talking about? Could be. Let's keep going. John Solomon, Trump administration negotiates removal of nuclear material from covert Syrian site. Do you see all these headlines? What do they all represent? They all represent Trump completely decimating the chessboard against the deep state. This is Syria, nuclear material, and Trump is getting his way. You tell me the deep state isn't pissed off right now. Hell yeah, they are. Let's get into this one. I know this one's gonna. Where's my Jews? Right? I know. I love you. I love you guys too. I know y'all in the audience. Don't be afraid to declare your Jews position. Right? I will agree on a lot of stuff, but this one might irk you guys a little bit. Rapid Response 47 puts Special Envoy Jared Kushner, and what's he have to say? Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Today we had a very, very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address. And we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats, and so we had to clarify what that means. We could be seeing progress, in as much as in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out, and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides, and we're going to hopefully get through. But we've made a lot of progress to get here. For Israel, we think this is a win-win situation because if Hamas actually gives over the weapons and the tunnels, willingly over the next 60 to 90 days, that obviously would be the elimination of a huge security threat for Israel, almost an unthinkable achievement. And if they don't follow through now on their commitment, everyone will see that they're not genuine about peace, and then Israel will have a lot more support from the U.S. and others to go and finish the job in the appropriate way.
So if you're selling the one, I would tell you, you want the best breakdown of what's going on in the Middle East and what these things translate into. On Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, I do a show with Ghost, bass Patrick Henry. You guys know Gordon. And it's called The Middle East in 30 Minutes Ish. The running joke is ish, right? Because I don't think we've hit a 30-minute show since episode 0. But nonetheless, the gems happen in the ish. And if you, I know some of you don't like the position that Ghost has on some things. And what I would tell you to do is I would challenge you to put that stuff aside because the breakdowns are superb on what's going on. And his accuracy is, it's hard to challenge it when it comes to the work that he does out there. Then again, I do my best to allow him to cook and supplement when I see an opportunity to do so. But again, that's on Sundays, the Middle East in 30 minutes-ish. I think you guys would love it. And then again, if you guys haven't done so, please grab that Substack link. And I think, let me see, what is my Substack address? Let me grab that for you guys real quick. It is, I thought it was going to show, it doesn't show there. Anyways, it's like, what do you, someone knows, Substack.AlphaWarrior Show or AlphaWarrior Show.substack. It's so terrible with promoting myself. But again, the link is there. And I agree. Ghost is the badass. Then let's get into this final one right here. Colonel Towner, again, extra credit for that one. Bricks News puts just in, Russia strikes World Health Organization warehouse in Ukraine. We're going to be called supporters of the Kremlin for this. But thank you, Russia, for doing that, because we all know what was in that warehouse was not in the best interest of America. None whatsoever. And let me see. I think we can go through this next section. Yeah, we'll go into this next section because this is Tucker Carlson and some of the other clowns, and then we'll wrap it after this section. AlphaWarrior.substack.com. Thank you, Claire Cat. I appreciate that very, very much. AlphaWarriorShow.substack.com. Claire Cat put it there and in the Rumble chat for you guys. So thank you for doing that, Claire Cat. So this next section, speaking of Tucker Carlson, and then we're going to end on this one, and then the rest of it we'll do tomorrow night for Just Alpha 2.0. I know some of you still, some of you are aggressive. I'll tell you that much. Alpha, I can't. You're making me question your motives because how can you not know that Tucker Carlson's a double agent? First of all, he could be, maybe. Right? Remember, I showed a video clip, 3-4 months ago from Chase Hughes. One of the best things that you can tell yourself when you hear anything is just say maybe. Can Tucker? Is it possible? Is there a theory where Tucker Carlson is a double agent or an agent operating on the direction of Trump? Yes, it's possible. Is that my opinion? No, not at all. And I've provided it. And again, I'll just provide the cliff notes because we do have a lot of new people that watch the show. The way I measure, and I'm always open to adjusting this opinion, but the way I currently measure, and I have for quite some time now, whether somebody is fulfilling the role, like, quote unquote, they're playing a role, is when they push an agenda, when they push a narrative or an operation. If I can see that operation has a clearly defined outcome or an azimuth that's, you know, fairly reasonable on what that outcome can look like, to me, that's something that I would see as feasible from the white hats, the good guys. When I see somebody pushing an operation, a narrative, or an agenda that you can't control the outcome of that the risk reward, the probability or the propensity for something chaotic to happen out of that is beyond reasonable to me, that is not something that I would ever say that a white hat operation or a military operation would perform. And this comes from someone who planned operations on the law enforcement side. You can't really control the outcome of that, you know? So when I look at some of the stuff that Tucker and MTG and others have put out there, it falls in the camp of people, I think, who betrayed the administration, betrayed America, betrayed, you know, us, MAGA. That's how I see it. Now, I know some of y'all don't like it, but I just want you to pay attention to the next couple of clips. And again, I'm not telling you got to adopt my position. I just want to provide you a different perspective. So this way you can challenge your own position, because ultimately that's what we all should be doing, is challenging our position. So Kanoka the Great puts out, Tucker Carlson claims Israelis connected to Benjamin Netanyahu shopped the Hunter Biden laptop story to him at Fox News. Hunter then claims he never dropped the laptop off at a repair shop. Tucker and Hunter agree the laptop was hacked. Meanwhile, here's Hunter's signature saying he dropped the laptop off at a repair shop, and the FBI testified that Hunter Biden received an email in April 2019 containing the repair shop invoice. How does Tucker Carlson sit down with Hunter Biden for an entire 2-hour interview and not ask him a single difficult question? Take a listen.
Then the official story comes out about how the laptop was left. You left a couple of laptops in a laptop repair store in Greenville, Delaware, which a town I'm very familiar with. So, and the guy was blind. Then I interviewed the guy who seemed to totally believe the story, John McIsaac. I mean, he seemed to be telling the truth. But the story did not make sense. Meanwhile, we get approached by Israelis connected to Benjamin Netanyahu, like I know that, who are shopping this stuff to me at Fox News.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think that part of the story, the laptop is real. I thought that from day one. But the way that it entered the bloodstream of the American media was not real. So I just want to ask you point blank, did you drop off laptops?
No. And this is the thing that I've said over and over again. I have literally zero recollection or memory of ever dropping off a laptop at John Paul McIsaac's. No, the answer is no. And John Paul McIsaac.
Wild.
So John Paul McIsaac, who's legally blind,
yes,
who on the day when the laptop became public, sat outside of his shop and gave an interview and flat out says that he doesn't remember seeing me. He couldn't identify me. And also that his security cameras that he has don't have any footage from that time. And so regardless of anything, just this, the laptop, according to Lev Parnas, under oath in his testimony before the House Oversight Committee, was being sought by Rudy Giuliani in Ukraine all the way back in 2018. And so Rudy Giuliani is working with a guy named Andrei Derkach, who was a MP in Ukraine and a known Russian GRU agent. So Rudy goes over there and basically takes his dossier and receives information that Hunter Biden's hard drive, not laptop, is for sale. And the person that they can go to is this other Ukrainian Russian oligarch who is living in Austria. That's what Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman were doing, getting on the plane before they were arrested.
So how did
before John Paul McIsaac was ever a twinkle in anybody's eye?
I believe that. The story, that was always the weak part of the story. Like he drops off laptops. So
even John Paul McIsaac, okay, there is no such thing as a laptop. The laptop that he eventually turns over a year later, 18 months later, to the FBI. The thing that is distributed and disseminated that John Paul McIsaac claims that he got off of a device was a hard drive. And that hard drive had a limited amount of information, a limited amount of like gigabytes. I don't know the difference between a gigabyte and a whatever. And that goes into the hands. He somehow can't find anybody. You can't throw a stone in Trolley Square without hitting someone that knows me personally.
Right.
And he knows that. He's lived there his whole life. Instead, what he finds through this guy Applebaum is Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, Bob Costello. He turns over this hard drive. The hard drive becomes the platform from which all of the other stolen information from which, by the way, every single forensic expert has made it clear, is that there's no possible way all of the information that was eventually labeled as my laptop came from one laptop. It's like it's way too large.
Came off the cloud.
Exactly. They hacked my cloud. I read about this in this book.
One.
So on Substack, I'm like laying all of this out, and there's a whole the NDI, the whole thing about there's these different silos. There's the Netanyahu silo, the Israeli side, there is a Russian-Ukrainian side of it, and then there are the U.S. actors that include Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, Miles Gow, and a whole bunch of, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman and all of these guys.
Well, once the material starts circulating, the data from the cloud, all kinds of people get involved and they're shopping it for different reasons, and I agree.
Yes, and so, but my point is...
Who stole it?
Well, from the cloud?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You have as good a guess as mine in terms of actually who was the original hacker of that information, who has the capacity to be able to do it. And so, I have
but
my...
you don't have
suspicions.
evidence.
I don't have a digital forensic evidence that it was hacked by this person or this entity or this organization, that it was Mossad or that it was the GRU or that it was some kid in his basement and that figured it out.
So some of you would ask, what's the purpose of Tucker and Hunter even having this particular part of the conversation? And this goes back to something I said a couple years ago when AI first started to really publicly trend. And we're all excited about it. And I said, everybody pump your brakes. You guys probably know the arguments, debates that me and CanCon have had with this. I said, why, what if the bad guys, if the cabal was the one to unleash AI, what are some of the reasons why? And we saw as we started to approach the 2024 election, all this AI to, make it, Kamala, Harris using AI to create these photos of, campaign photos. And back then, that's when you could tell it pretty easy because, AI struggled with words. You had people with like 3 ears and 7 fingers on one hand. Like it was a hell of a lot easier than it is now to be like, yeah, that's AI. That's AI. Like, it's now we got to really start running it through some of the software programs that we have. But to bring it here, right? Tucker is preparing the narrative, again, not for you guys. He knows he can't fool you guys, but for the normies. He's preparing the narrative that when this information gets leaked, the criminal part that couldn't get leaked publicly, and I think the Marco Polo guys probably are pretty dialed in on what this potentially could look like. When that information surfaces, when those videos and images surface, they're going to say it's Mossad AI photos that aren't real. That's what this is all about. This is providing the reasonable doubt so that there's not a public indictment on the normie level. Again, nothing they're going to do to convince us. We already know, but they're setting up the excuse for that. And now I'm going to show you. This is, you're the company you keep, right? So let's take a look at this one now. Nathan Livingstone, Milk Bar TV, puts out Tucker Carlson contradicts himself and flip-flops on Hunter Biden and the Biden family, 2024 versus 2026. And that's why I wanted you guys to see that clip first before you saw this one.
But the story did not make sense. So I just want to ask you point blank, did you drop off laptops?
No. And this is the thing that I've said over and over again. I have literally zero recollection or memory of ever dropping off a laptop at John Paul McIsaac's. No, the answer is no.
And you've written about this for several years now, pretty conclusively, I would say. You had an amazing book on Hunter Biden's laptop, which sort of substantiates a lot of what you're saying.
John Paul McIsaac, who was, I think you've interviewed him,
Yes.
the laptop repair shop owner who had the laptop that Hunter had abandoned at his shop.
When we have shown Hunter's consent, everyone knows Hunter consented.
But the reality is this. Of what was distributed that was authentic, not a single one of them in which I say, hey, when my dad is in office or in power as vice president or president, in which I say, hey, Dad, I need you to do this for me.
And yet we had on the front page an email from Hunter's Ukrainian sort of paymaster from that company Burisma, who had thanked Hunter for introducing him to his father in Washington, D.C., the then sitting vice president. Hunter organized that for his father, the vice president, in a private room to meet with his Ukrainian business partners, plus Russian, plus Kazakhstanis. He did a 3-for-1 deal in April of 2015. But he just has to show up and be charming and be the vice president for all the money to flow into Hunter's pockets.
The of what I call the elite oligarch Epstein class of Washington, D.C.
Yes.
That are as interested in protecting their corporate overlords as they are in protecting anything. My dad in 1972 took a vow that he would never own a stock or a bond. He retired from the presidency as having probably the lowest net worth of anyone that had ever entered the presidency.
I always wondered, how did he afford to live in a 12,000 square foot house on a Senate salary?
Well, he will tell you he was just lucky with real estate. He's just the donors, you know, like they'd buy his houses for an inflated cost, and he'd buy houses for a lower cost. Same with Hunter. Hunter bought places, same thing. And there was just a magic carpet ride for him. Whatever transaction that he entered into, he was looked after. Hunter's sort of businesses worked, that Joe would get something. Hunter was certainly paying for some of Joe's maintenance and upkeep on his Delaware estate. And Joe lives...
And estate is not too strong. It was a former DuPont house, enormous house that Hunter grew up in.
Yes,
and
with the ballroom.
Yeah. And then I know from having friends and relatives in that town, Greenville, Delaware, that he never paid any of the workmen.
No.
You know, Stiff the firewood guy and the landscaper and the caterer, and, you know, they're always after him for money. Really screwed the little guy consistently and was famous in the neighborhood for doing that.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is. Well, it is incredible. It's very low, the lowest.
The entire narrative of the Biden crime family. I mean, I literally, unlike anybody else, is like, I say to everybody, okay, show me your phone, because I showed you mine and you didn't find a goddamn thing.
But I think there's enough on the public record, a lot of evidence to show that Joe Biden was involved in the family's influence peddling scheme, that this is where the money went. It is part of a pattern of money, the money trail, and how it gets to the Biden family. 10% for the big guy.
In a family that I love, drives me crazy. I love. It's like everybody else. But I don't have to live a lie.
Hunter Biden, thank you very much.
Thanks.
So Joe Biden's going to get away with, I mean, probably not for eternity will he get away with it, but for the here and now, he's getting away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, folks, you heard it with your own ears. You saw it with your own eyes. You can't tell me that man has conviction if he can just flip-flop with that. Or maybe he's CIA. You know, I do want to bring up Sons of Liberty put a fantastic comment over there in the Rumble live chat. And I wanted to read this to you guys. And you guys, some of you will probably be familiar with this, but for the sake of those that maybe aren't, Tony Bobulinski is a former business partner of Hunter Biden who became a primary whistleblower alleging that President Joe Biden was involved in and profited from his son's foreign business deals. And there's a lot around Tony As a matter of fact, last year he came down to, or was it early this year? No, I think it was last year. He came down to LA. I was trying to get out to it. I wanted to go and take a listen. We're almost done with this section, folks. And then after that, I'll get into Rumble Rants and Super Chats. There wasn't too many of them, so it wouldn't take us that long. But we'll get into Rumble Rants and Super Chats. I'll close this out with prayer, then a cool video for you guys on the way out. And then again, tomorrow, just Alpha 2.0 before DEFCON, and we'll finish the remainder of tonight's show. But let's keep going on with this one right here. Pete Santilli, shout out Pete. Owen Schroyer seems to have gone full libtard. You never ever go full libtard. This one's a bummer, folks. I like Owen. You know, he, for those of you that don't know, you know, with the Butler shooting, he was in a space, heard my assessment of it, recognized, you know, my analysis of that, and brought me on the show to put that in front of a large audience, and would share my content and stuff like that. To see this guy take this position now, it sucks. It sucks. But again, we got to recognize it when we see it. And this is just wild. So take a listen to this. Whole lot of ops out there, folks.
So the only answer might be Democrats getting in there and stopping this administration. Democrats getting in there and stopping Trump from all the damage he's doing to this country. It might be the only option. That's what people are realizing. Wake up, guys. Wake up, MAGA. Hey, I get it. You thought it was all great. No. Wake up. Wake up. Trump is George Bush, maybe worse. The economy's not getting any better. The Pentagon is broke. The debt is at a record high. Americans' debt is at a record high. You're in the Middle East. Americans are coming back in body bags. Wake up. Wake up. You have been sold out. Trump sold you out. And I wonder how many of these Americans that signed up for the military, a 19-year-old girl, signs up for the military. She's dead now. I wonder if she signed up because she believed Donald Trump.
First thing I'll say is what a huge disrespect to the military. You don't sign up to the military because you believe the president, even a great one like Trump. That can weigh in on your decision. But you join the military, and granted, this is a generality, but this is on the large scope of that, because you believe in your country, because you believe in your oath. It's easier to do that when you have confidence in your president, but you don't sign your life on the dotted line because you believe in a man. You sign your life on a dotted line because you love your country. And it's unfortunate that guys like this don't recognize it. But I'll say it, and if it hurts your feelings, Owen, you reap what you sow. That girl that died has way bigger balls than you. She stood for something. You don't stand for shit but Democrats. But again, this is that group. All these people support each other, repost each other, go on each other's podcasts. They do all these things. Why? Recognize the op, folks. This one's, if I didn't piss you guys off with the last couple, you guys will feel it on this one. JTC53 puts out, Nick Shirley just wrecked Thomas Massey. Love to see it. Massey's a fraud. Who was the first one to tell you guys? Just going to say. Let's start on how it started first. Thomas Massey put, hard to take Nick Shirley seriously until he starts calling out Johnson, Thune, and Trump for funding the daycare fraud in every omnibus bill and Ciara bill with no guardrails. Nick Shirley would respond and totally body Thomas by saying, in other words, why can't a 24-year-old solve all the government spending problems? You people in D.C. are a large part of the problem. All you do is complain and whine on X while your job is to actually work for us. I expose and save the Americans billions. What have you done? Holy shit. I'm liking this kid more and more. I shouldn't call him a kid. Young man. I like this young man more and more. And just to put it all in a nice little soggy lunch bag for you guys, Tucker, Hunter, Owen, right? All these guys, right? Massey, Candace, MTG. Tell me if their rhetoric sounds any different than these two clowns. Because if I showed you guys these guys, Gavin Newsom and POS Michael Fanone, you guys would be like, oh yeah, those guys are absolutely. Tell me the difference between what you hear these guys saying and the other clowns that I just showed you. And this will be our last clip for tonight. And then again, we'll get into our Rumble Rats prayer and then a cool video for you guys on the exit.
One of the things that's really interesting about you, I mean, every observer will make the point. I mean, you're right out of central casting, man. I mean, right out of central casting. And so that's why you're the worst goddamn thing that happened on January 6th to Trump and their frame, because they didn't have the ability to look at you with your history, your background, the fact you even voted for this son of a bitch in the first place, and your ability to articulate what happened in a sober and thoughtful way, and your tenacity and your commitment to this larger cause. You didn't go away. You didn't back down. But this notion of, the Democratic Party and what's happening in my party and the relationship to, why Trump got back in, what we need to be doing better as issues around masculinity. You brought up the Tate brothers today in context of, now there seems the Republicans are walking away from those guys. And I don't know what took them so goddamn long. But what do you make of where we are in the relationship to all that? And what's in the stew in all of this? Is masculinity a part of this? Is there, what do you make of all this?
I mean, might as well have just added Tucker and Massey and Hunter and Megyn Kelly and just throw them all, Ian Carroll, just throw them all in the same damn podcast because they all sound the exact same. Now, one thing I will note here, and I can pull this off now and go here and let me prep the other screen that I'm going to be bringing on. One thing I will note, and I saw somebody in one of the chats, I wasn't sure if it was Rumble or YouTube, when you guys caught it. I'm sure a couple of you guys did. You guys know Newsom and Fanone. You guys know my position on these guys. But Newsom said something. Now, it could just be because he's trying to mimic and troll Trump, right? That's I would say that's probably Occam's razor why he did it. When he comes out and he says to Michael Fanone, "You're central casting," right? Because that's what Trump always says. But there was something about that. If you wanted me to believe that these guys were already on the hook and, going along with the script because their lives depended on it, it's little subtle shit like that catches my ear that just makes me say, what the Frank? What the Frank? What the Frank? So yes, I noted it. I heard it along with you. I am not going to rubber stamp that that's what I think that is yet. I just wanted to say I observed it with you. I think in this situation, it's Newsom trying to just troll Trump, and by mimicking him and such. That's what I'll say with that. So with that, folks, tomorrow we will be starting off with some of the general news. We'll do that part in the beginning part, and then we're going to get right into after that. Let me see how I have this lined up for you guys. We're going to go into the Candace Owens and Andrew debate. That's going to be very fun. And tomorrow's news is going to be very short. Probably be about 20 minutes into that. And then the vast majority of our show, like I said, we're going to go into the Candace versus Andrew debate. Got some solid clips and debriefing to do there. And then from there, we're going to move into some of the shadow government coup that's in play. We got some obvious signs. There's some clips I'm going to show you guys that you're going to love on that. And then we got a real short segment where we're going to go over to some Trump White House communications, some potential Q references that are in there. Tomorrow's show, probably not that long. I'd say it's probably a show that's maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours tops for tomorrow. Raptor Town says, no, Candace, no, you're going to love it because we're putting this shit to bed. Like this was, you want to talk about taking the wind out of the sails, mission accomplished on this one. But before we do that, let's get into supporting you guys who supported me tonight by doing your guys' Rumble rants and super chats. So let me get those ready. Like I said, this won't take too long. Not a whole lot came in tonight. And finances are hard, so I'm not trying to guilt trip you guys, but if it's working, I'm trying. Dollar for dollar, ZBM Alpha. You should absolutely look up the history behind the origins of C.S. Lewis series. Narnia. I love Narnia. Don't tell me there's something bad there. It's mostly about Christian Armenia and its history with Islam. Truly interesting and eye-opening. No way. I'll have to peep that out. Never would have considered that. Again, dollar for dollar ZBM. Ghost is pretty based as well, informed on most things, but he is pretty dang intentionally naive on just Islam itself, especially the blatant history of Muhammad and the ideology he made up. Just JPO. What the heck is JPO? Someone needs to tell me what JPO means. You don't have to do a dollar rant for it, ZBM. Just JPO. Gosh, I wish I knew what that meant. And then shout out 15 Tony Bach gifted 1 subscription. So thank you, Tony, for that, and from the person on the receiving end of it. And then last but not least on the Rumble Rants, $20 coming in from Katie Hayes. Thank you very much. I think the Tucker Trump fight is kayfabe like DeSantis. Only this time is Tucker is tasked with becoming allied with our enemy. Can't be sure, but he seems to be playing too dumb. Maybe? Maybe. Anybody tell me what JPO means yet? Nope. You guys just gonna leave me in suspense, going to the devil's Google after the show to try to solve that mystery. All right, we had a couple super chats and jewels come in, so let's bring those up onto the screen now. Army Vet, where we go all 1,000 jewels loot box. Thank you for your service, Army Vet. Freaking 1,000 jewels, man. Right on. And G Fontes, $119 Rumble Rant. JPO, just playing around. All right. I know I can't be the only one that didn't know that. Somebody make me feel so not old. I feel old. I feel like that's something I should have known. And then again, there on Rumble at the last second, God is with us. I really love your name. $2. Got my good brew shipment. Warning, start out with small amount per day. Yes. Yes. Here's what I'll say, folks. It's I would start off with 1 scoop, right? Of the good brew. And once you feel like, okay, you're good here, go to 1.5 scoops. See where your tolerance level is. It's going to make your body be on a schedule. Very healthy. I'll tell you this, folks. I'll tell you this, right? I'm not trying to make people, it's not a laxative. We're going to be on the toilet all day. Don't want to make you guys panic. Just, if you overdo it, your body's going to be like, whoa, right? So 1 scoop, start off with 1 scoop in your coffee or water, whatever the case. But I'm telling you, if you're someone that every time you eat, no matter what you eat, you feel like you have bloating, this stuff is a miracle. It will be gone. Like, you will experience, at least it's been my experience and the people that I've talked to, you will have that experience. So again, I can't guarantee anything. That's just the way this world is. You get it. But I'm telling you, you're going to be very happy. Again, Army Vet, where we go all 1,000 jewels for the loot box on the screen. Thank you for that. Another one over there. Always see you on YouTube as well. Patience 8947, 1,000 jewels trophy cake. Love that. And then Shannon Patterson 6126. I think I saw you on the show last night too, Shannon, with me and Josh. Maybe the days just blend. $2. Thank you for keeping it real. But thank you for the support. And last over here on YouTube, but not least, Cynthia Mahaney 4888, 550 jewels. Stay hydrated, folks. If some of you guys wonder, why does Alpha every now and then drop a really long clip? Because I got to run. Because if you guys see, I drink a lot of water and a lot of coffee. And these are long shows. So that's it. I'm not going to disclose any more than that. Folks, appreciate you spending the time with me tonight. Please make sure you tune in to tomorrow's show and catch Just Alpha 2.0 and DEFCON again at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. DEFCON being on Badlands with me and Josh. And I don't think he said it. I was gonna give some information, but I don't think he said it yet. So I'll probably wait till DEFCON. Tune into DEFCON to hear some planning that we have. I don't think we said it publicly yet, so I'm just going to be careful. With that, I'm going to close this out in prayer. And then, like I said, I have a very cool outro video for you guys, a meaningful one that I think we can all learn from. And it's from someone that I respect highly. So if you can, bow your head, close your eyes, unless you're driving, focus on the road and just listen. Thank you, Father, for another day of life. Father, thank you for this podcast. Thank you for my audience. Thank you for those that help me. Thank you for those that provide me guidance, advice, and information. Father, I ask that you continue to protect this podcast, protect me, protect my audience. When I get it wrong, protect my audience from my words. Father, help me to keep my own egos and motives out of this. Father, hear all the prayers tonight, spoken and unspoken. Father, there's an evil that is trying to destroy humanity, trying to destroy families, trying to destroy our joy and our hope. Help me to be a lighthouse for those that are lost, to find their way back to the truth, to find their way back to you. Father, I ask that you continue to watch over my family as my son gets ready to head off to college this week. Protect him, protect his friends, as my little one gets ready to start her first adventure of schooling. I ask you to watch over her as well. We pray and we ask all this in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. Folks, again, thank you for spending time with me here on the show. I appreciate all the support you guys have for me. I know I saw somebody on one of the chats saying, hey, I want to send you an actual card. If you go down to the description here, I'll read it to you for those that are not available to get to the TV right now. I do have a business address if you want to mail me a letter or send something cool. And you can send that to Alfredo Luna, care of AlphaWarrior Show, and that address, 31855 Date Palm Drive, Suite 3-185, Cathedral City, California, 92234. And the first box that we have is already filled up. So I'm going to end up moving those letters and cards and all that stuff from you guys into another one. And then we'll start filling it up again. So I just want to say I appreciate all this stuff. And especially the kids that, for you parents that send me the stuff that your kids do, I appreciate that too. And because now I know some of you have kids that listen to the show, I do try to be mindful of my language, but every now and then it slips. That's the Marine side of me, guys. So my apologies. Nothing else coming in at the last second. All right, folks, don't forget that Substack, alphawarrior.substack.com. That link's down in the description. And I hope you guys enjoy this video on the way out. Good night. God bless and Semper Fi.
One of the greatest threats to any movement is the moment people stop thinking in principles and start thinking in teams. Good people, bad people, heroes, traitors, our side, their side. It feels simple. It also makes us easy to control. When loyalty becomes attached to personalities, truth becomes negotiable. We excuse behavior from people we admire that we would condemn in people we oppose. We reject good ideas because of who said them, and we defend bad decisions because admitting they were wrong feels like betraying our side. Eventually, we aren't defending a cause anymore. We're defending people. That is why you have to know what you stand for before the noise begins. Build your convictions around principles that don't change depending on who is speaking, and then judge actions, decisions, and outcomes against those principles. In times of conflict and uncertainty, information becomes a weapon. Every faction has an incentive to tell the version of the story that benefits them. Outrage gets amplified, motives get assigned, and context disappears. People are pushed toward emotional conclusions before they've had time to ask whether the story even makes sense. The disciplined person resists that pressure. Not everything has to become a loyalty test. You can recognize someone's contribution without surrendering your judgment to them. You can disagree with someone without declaring everything they touch is worthless. You can change your assessment when the facts change without abandoning your principles. The question isn't who deserves your unconditional loyalty. The question is whether what they are doing serves the purpose you claimed mattered in the first place. Watch carefully when someone's cause always seems to end with more attention, power, money, or protection for themselves, and pay attention to the people willing to sacrifice those things for something larger. Movements rarely lose their way all at once. They lose it when protecting the players becomes more important than protecting the purpose. Know your purpose and then refuse to let anyone become bigger than it. Thanks for listening.